everybody, and welcome back to another Nextlander podcast. Now, this time, Alex Navarro, I think we are done with the not E3 stuff. Last time, we were almost done, and they kept pulling us back in. Nintendo said, no, wait a second, maybe there's a thing or two I have in my pocket. I don't know.
You're not going to do your best Pacino?
No. I'll do my best. I was gonna do the train's leaving. No.
No.
Okay.
No.
She's got a great ass. Nintendo's got a great.
I don't know about that one. As my hands
got
hover.
a great Mario, and you got your head all the way up it.
Maybe that. As my hands hover over this podcast title form.
I'm a fan of Mario. Brad Shoemaker, you're back from LA, and
I'm still back.
and still,
I was back and remain back. Yes, from Los Angeles.
Still, the games keep getting announced,
and
we'll get to that. We're going to talk about that during the Nintendo Direct portion of our news, which is pretty much the news this week. There's not really too much else being announced. Granted,
it's the summer, man. We're now in the reload phase.
And I'm thankful for it because not only do we not get, we're not talking about games being announced, it also seems to be a slight reprieve, and I say this, and I know I'm going to curse it, of studio closures, acquisitions, or mergers at this point. But
God, let's hope so.
By saying that, I'm sure by the time we finish this, somebody will have announced something.
Oh, it's constant. I saw a couple more small indies closed just yesterday, day before. It's a constant trickle, sadly.
The problem is not over.
So we're going to get to Nintendo Direct stuff later, their announcements. We've got some things that Brad had hands-on with when he was down at the Summer Game Fest. We're going to get to some more of that stuff during the games. Before that, though, I wanted to check in with you guys. Yesterday, we were recording the Watchcast.
Yeah.
And my power went out.
It's real hot over here.
It's been a while since I've had a full power outage where we were recording something. And in that time, I have shuffled some power cords around, and so I was surprised to see what stayed on my... In this house, I have multiple UPS systems, or battery backups. On this setup here, I have 3.
I just pictured a little embroidered framed thing on the wall.
In this house?
In this house, we believe in science, we run multiple UPSs.
We believe in battery backups. Bless this mess of backups. And I was surprised what stayed on, what didn't. Now, my camera, I'd been saying probably since we've had cameras that I was going to put it on my backup system, and it was not. So I kind of knew that one was going to go out. The vMix PC I thought was on one of them because I have a dedicated one for that, but sometime in the reshuffling of things, I must have taken the ATX cable out of a monitor and put it into a PC because that PC went down, but another monitor stayed on. And then my audio, my compressor was not plugged into one. So, wound up getting everything back up eventually, and we were able to record. So if you hear some funniness, it's because my computer shuts down when there is just a sliver of battery left. I left okay, if you've got a minute and a half or 2 minutes, that's about how long it takes to shut down. You need to go into a soft shutdown because I don't want a hard shutdown. So shut down. So as we were recording, I could see the pop-ups kept coming up on my screen. That's hey, we're shutting you down. Hey, you got 30 seconds until you shut down. I'm like, all right, cancel. We'll just ride this to the edge. Cancel. And then suddenly, while mid-sentence, the blue screen with the shutdown thing just came on it. And then I could hear you in the background, and then it just went out eventually. Luckily, the audio recording saved, and everything seemed fine.
Yeah, I think we got through all of it, though you will not hear Vinny at the end normally saying thank you, as I say thanks for everyone who's been listening and all that.
You could steal that from another one. We'll punch that in.
Yeah, it'll be just like Twin Peaks. We'll just reuse old footage.
That's right. And the other thing is I went through and I edited out all the times you could hear my UPS beeping. Beep, beep.
You did that?
I did, because I marked them every time.
You didn't have to do that. I would have done it.
I noticed you repeat specific words if you were in the middle of a word and it beeped. You just said the word again.
Yeah, so I went through and I did mute them out. I didn't shorten anything or cut it, so it's just muted out. It should still line up. But that was fine. And then I realized I gotta go back in. I gotta rewire everything. I gotta make sure this video, my camera should be on. That was a pain in the neck, but I think I've got it now. So hopefully the system goes down. Hey, we're in it. We're in like we're sharing this heat wave with a lot of the country, and it sucks.
I mean, we're not even getting the highest heat. We're just getting all the humidity.
Is it still like a massive heat dome out there or whatever?
It's pretty bad.
So we've got it. And today was the first
high 80s today and like 90% humidity.
Today is the day I learned the difference between humidity and dew point, which is not something I had known before. Which I guess humidity is relative to the temperature of the air, where hot air can hold more water and moisture, cold air can't. Right. So it's always relative. So, an 80% humidity in cold air is different than an 80% humidity in hot air because you can actually hold more moisture. Right. Whereas a dew point, I guess, is a fixed thing. Yeah,
it's like where the water condenses, right?
Yes.
Where the water in the air then like kind of
below which,
dew,
yes.
Essentially.
So apparently, and this is from just, survey course here, in a temperate climate like we have out here in the Northeast, well, traditionally, not the new subtropical climate we have, around 50 to 60 degrees dew point is fairly considered comfortable. Above that gets uncomfortable. 70 is considered kind of oppressive. We're in, I think, 65 now. 65 or 66 was the dew point this afternoon. In upstate New York, where the temperature was where my brother lives, because I was, I just happened to be looking at it. It was like 87. I was like, 87, man, that's great. But then his dew point was like 72. I was like, oh my gosh. So it's where your perspiration can't evaporate, right? And so you're just covered in a film of sweat.
Ah, yes. The old wet bulb temperature.
The old wet bulb temperature.
That's what they call me.
Yep. Wow. Jake's Double Drinks, buy me a Coke.
Ha.
Oh, man. Alex.
Man.
You could speak again.
It's funny when you said if you're listening to this podcast and you hear anything funny, I thought you were going to say you're listening to the wrong podcast because this is the goddamn Nextlander podcast. We are serious here about video games.
We are dead serious about video games.
And dew points.
And wet bulbs.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, it sucks. And that means that people are running their air conditioners. That means they're taxing the power grid. It was only out for like an hour and a half.
As soon as you went off air and we were done with all our stuff, I immediately went and turned my AC up a degree so that it wouldn't run as much because I was like, I don't want this grid collapsing. I want air.
Yes. Well, look, we're a 7, and people have given me crap before. We're a 78-degree air conditioner household. Unless we have company over, 4 or more additional bodies in here, I will put it down to around 76, maybe 70.
For guests?
For guests. Well,
wow. because it's not a giant house. It does AC house pretty quickly.
Yeah, and it's not a big house. And if you have like 4 more people in here in one room, it does actually start to heat up a bit. And then it's like, this is kind of warm. But the biggest struggle I have is the competition between my wife and me on her constantly being like, I think it's cooler outside than it is in here now. And I'm like, we always fall for this trick. It's never, it never seems is. But it never, as soon as we open this windows, it gets super hot in here and humid. Don't let the good air we've collected and paid hundreds of dollars for out of this house. Do not do it. Hold on to this air until we are all breathing our own air. You can shut the air conditioners off. Just don't open a window. Keep it sealed. Because as soon as we open that window, the bad air comes in.
That's when the fog that turns you inside out comes in.
Yes, and that fog is the 67-degree dew point. So yeah, across this great nation of ours, a bunch of
sucks.
It pretty much sucks. I do keep on my phone the temperature in San Francisco, Brad, and you had a nice 65, 67 degrees when I checked it this morning.
55 degrees currently.
That is bananas.
Well, it's a fog day, to be clear.
Oh
yeah.
We got the fog today, so it's always cold and clammy on the days when you but you don't see the sun. You do not see zero sun on those days.
Well, I can send you some.
And when you get like 9 of those days end to end, and so you literally have not seen a ray of sunshine in about a week and a half.
Yeah.
I would take the 85-degree temperature.
Oh, I don't know, man.
Easily.
Oh, it's pretty gnarly out.
It's pretty soupy.
It's pretty gross. Like, I like going outside and walking to places and doing things. It's wet. It's not.
I don't
good.
like being wet. Is the thing.
Well, I mean,
I really don't enjoy it.
I grew up in the South. I know how it is.
Yeah.
Yes, we've taken over some of that.
That's what it is, Brad. We now have the Mid-South's weather. Like, New Jersey basically has Virginia, North Carolina weather during the summer.
Grody. I'm
kind of jealous of your outage.
Of a power outage?
Yes, like I also have I got a UPS 4, I think it was 4 years ago.
Okay.
And chain 4.5. Put a lot of work into the setup.
Yeah.
Power never goes off.
Oh, you want to test your gear?
Yes, we had first like legit outage a couple months ago in the last 4 years that I've seen, but even that was like 30 seconds or something.
Oh, just a blip.
But yeah, well, more than a blip. I mean, it was about, I'd say, maybe 30 seconds or so.
You can just walk downstairs with a big old knife, just cut the power, see what happens.
True. We can go flip some circuit breakers. I don't know.
No one's gonna know.
The problem with 4 years, and I'm sure you're more on top of this than I've been in the past, is that 4 years is just enough time for your battery to misreport how much is left on it.
That's the really shitty part, is the battery. What are those, lead acid batteries? It's basically a car battery in a UPS, right?
I don't know if it's lead acid anymore. I don't think you can open it up and spill anything on you, but they used
what I mean is
it's big honking, yes.
Yeah. What I mean is it's different, like different battery practices, different behavior than a lithium ion or whatever. Like it's not what's in your phone is what I'm saying. It's not the thing where it's like, if you just keep it at 80% all the time, it'll last a long time. Like, I think these things just wear out rapidly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Even without being used. I
don't know what kind of battery tech it is. I don't want to say it's not something, because I really don't know. But I've replaced mine twice now, and I've had them for about 15 years ish. One I've replaced twice. So over its course. That's the thing. Is like, it's the thing with everything, man. This is why I didn't want to get the security camera stuff, is because you just have to maintain. It's just another thing to add to its spreadsheet to maintain.
I've also, I think, gotten to the point where the maintenance is starting to get on top of me a little bit.
Yeah. Where it's just like, oh, you can do this system, but like, you got to maintain it all the time. Make sure that battery, like, my computer runs a test on the battery and tells me when it fails. I think I run like PowerShoot or APC's thing, and it tests the battery. But look, it does come in handy, because, like, again, where I'm in a neighborhood where there are brownouts and power outages, not infrequently, and enough where we work at home, and it's like losing work or even just shutting down sucks, or like or the stress on a machine or something like that can really suck.
Yeah.
Or corruption.
Or file corruption. Yeah.
So they're super useful. I have thought about what would it be like to get a whole house battery. Probably outside of my budget, and that's one of those ones, because I've thought about getting solar panels and a battery for the house. You know, we're in suburban New Jersey. They pitch solar panels all the time.
There are people coming to my door pitching solar panels like 3 times a week now.
Yeah, so like they're all, but I don't want solar panels that necessarily just feed into the grid. I want solar panels that can power the house and a battery thing. And I just feel like battery and solar panel tech is one of those things that still iterates so quickly that I don't want to buy the one now and then 5 years have the battery tech be so much better and the solar panels be so much more efficient that I would have to replace it, because it's a huge investment. It'd probably be the second biggest thing I ever paid for in my life aside from the house, you know? So, yeah, but it would be nice.
Yeah.
And I was thinking
Off
about
the
that
grid.
As I was spiraling down some hole, looking at the state of services and the state of everybody pretty much, I was going to say turning, but becoming more aware of maybe these services all suck and we shouldn't pay for all these services anymore, as they, you know, start to nickel and dime, as you start feeling like you're getting less and less for every service you pay for.
and
I was like, how do I cut the power?
Dude, I almost flew off the couch last night. We've been watching Gen V.
The new
boys,
season?
No, the boys.
The college
the spinoff. It's the spinoff. The college years.
Yeah,
the boys. The college years.
Yeah,
it's on Amazon. They started running ads.
Yeah,
like we watched Fallout on there a couple months ago. Like an ad before every episode. Like, okay, kind of sucks, but whatever. It's 30 seconds. Now they're shoving ads into the middle of the episode multiple times. Like
Wait, really?
Full on TV style ad breaks like 3 times throughout the episode.
Oh my gosh.
I almost flew off the couch last night.
That's like,
and ripped the non-existent cable out of the wall. Just like, all right, enough.
I have not watched a new episode of The Boys yet, and I feel like if I heads up, I know Amazon's listening, but heads up, I might Amazon Jeff Bezos. That might drive me enough to cancel, because I've been debating whether or not just canceling Prime anyway, and like,
same.
At that point, just being like, you know what, I'm gonna just try a Primeless life for a while here, and maybe I'll see you again sometime. It's just like, I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole other rant for another time. But sink a well, put my solar panels up, run my own fiber. It's generate my own.
Start your own ISP.
Start my own ISP. Launch my own satellite.
All very normal things to do.
Just where I'm at. Just where I'm at. All right. Should we talk about a video game or two?
Probably.
Let me kick things off here. I want to talk to you guys about Alan Wake 2's Night Springs.
How is this? I've been meaning to dig into this.
I think it's pretty great. So you don't get... are we still using the term shadow dropped? Like,
sure.
We knew they were doing DLC though, I thought, didn't we?
We knew.
Yeah. I'm like picking apart in my head what that actually means. First of all, I don't love that term at all.
I don't love that term.
It seems to be what people have settled on.
It's just not evocative of what actually happens.
Yeah, no, it's really not.
Yeah.
But that had been announced before, right? Like,
Yes.
does the shadow drop concept require it to not even have been announced? I think that in its purest form, yes. Like you could say like, oh, it's been announced, but they didn't give any date, and then all of a sudden they're just like, hey, it's out now. But like it's, if it was like the Fallout Shelter thing though, of like you've never heard of this game before and it's out now. Like that's really what it is.
Okay, well, it's something that was at least anticipated, and then during the press conference or showcase they said it is available now, which was pretty cool. The way it's available, if you don't know, is you need the upgraded Alan Wake 2 deals, the pack. So it's $20 and it gets you this Night Springs and whatever other future piece of DLC they have. So if you boot up your non-upgraded Alan Wake 2, you get a thing that says, hey, for you can upgrade and you can get this Night Springs one, this future one. So I paid the $20. I upgraded it. It's cool. I love it. I think it's right.
So it's 3 episodes, right?
It's 3 episodes. They're probably around an hour-ish each, depending on how long you kind of futz about in them, or if you have any trouble with the combat, which you probably will not. These are not combat pieces of DLC. These are more tone pieces of DLC.
They're stories.
Yeah, and so if you don't know what Night Springs is, it's their in-universe version of Twilight Zone, and these are 3 Twilight Zone-esque pieces that incorporate some of the Alan Wake mythos into it, but
and a little of the Control mythos too. Associated.
Or we should say the Remedy world, right?
Yeah. The Remedyverse.
The Remedy connected universe, I think is what they call it.
The Remedy connected the RCU into this, but it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna spoil anything Alan Wake-ish if you haven't finished it, and I really do think they're pretty fun pieces if you like that Remedy style of offbeat humor, which is what they're going for here. If you come to a Remedy game looking for the weirdness in the Remedy game, then these are gonna appeal to you. If you're looking for like the Remedy games to have this awesome combat system and these hard combat puzzles and challenges, that's not what these are. They literally give you so much ammunition and healing. You're stuffed to the gills. I had 400 rounds for a shotgun in this game. I just remember looking at the bottom right of the screen being like, I've never had even
Yeah.
100 rounds, I think, for a shotgun in Alan Wake. They give one of the characters an auto shock, like it's just an fully automatic shotgun. You could just hold the trigger down and pump through. I think it's like your 12 rounds in the shotgun.
Is that a new weapon?
It feels like the shotgun, but they basically say it's automatic. Just hold down the right trigger. I don't know if it's an all new weapon. It seems like an older one that they just turned into a hold the trigger down, because tell you what, it doesn't look like an automatic shotgun. Not that I would recognize one, but by video game standards.
So who are the playable characters? It's like Rose, the waitress, right, from the diner. Is it Ati, the janitor? No, I think he might be in one of these or something. But
he makes background appearances, very subtle, like almost just kind of referenced. It's Rose, the diner, the waitress at the diner. It is Jessie from Control. And it is she's fully playable.
They showed her in one of those trailers.
And then it is the police Sean, the police officer.
The Sean Ashmore character.
Yeah. So those are the three playable characters in it, and you kind of come across some other characters as you're playing it. I also did not realize this, and maybe I should have. That diner in that town is the double R.
Yeah.
Like the layout.
It
the
just
whole
is.
Thing. It just is. That is the double R. And I feel so much better. Thank you, Alex, for taking us on this journey so that I could feel these references, appreciate them now.
That's what I'm here for, just to give context.
Yeah, like I get now why people liked Deadly Premonition so much, for example, and Alan Wake to an extent, but Alan Wake is actually good, you know.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like I get now if you came out of the 90s with 20 years of burning Twin Peaks nostalgia.
Yeah.
Frustration maybe is a better word. You know, frustration with the lack of Twin Peaks, and then something like that drops in your lap. I can totally get it.
Yeah.
So Night Springs, it is broken up into 3. You can play them, I think, in any order you want, really. I played them in the order they're presented. They all are self-encapsulated little vignettes with intros and outros by what's his name? Waldendor, the door character. The
God, what is that character's name?
Waldorf Door, and something with a W. But he does a great fake Rod Serling.
Great,
yeah. And
did you pick them off a menu, or is there some like interesting in-world way that you enter a TV or something? No,
it's just off the front screen. You click like it doesn't say DLC, but something similar. And then you just go into a different menu and you hit them.
That's cool. Like the DLC for the first Alan Wake was also excellent, like arguably better than for the base game. Just like something you'd never say about DLC. I mean, I can't speak for these being better, but like I felt like the two DLCs off the original game were like a more full realization of what the game was supposed to be than the original even was.
So, you know, like these are telling its little character vignette. They're not full courses here, you know. They're pretty light, but it's
fun. A tasting menu. It's tapas.
Yeah. You know, and I would even say, you know, if you're paying $20 just to come in here, think about it. How much do you like Alan Wake? You know, this is like 3 hours, maybe not really replayable. You will probably, I assume you will get the other piece of this DLC, whatever it is, down the road. But I find this Remedy stuff to be some of my favorite Remedy when they are self-aware and making fun of themselves. If I can just talk a little bit about Rose's here, she is infatuated with quote unquote the writer, and she's basically, hers is a fantasy about saving him from a mob of haters, which are basically
very timely.
Basically critics. And so as you're fighting them, they're just shouting things like, I don't like scary games, or no, books. It's books. Sorry, but it really feels like
they're in a video game.
It really feels like the Remedy people are shouting things maybe they have heard criticism. It's too convoluted. The plot doesn't make sense. I can't follow it. Which is pretty funny as you're taking down. And she's the one with the automatic shotgun. All the haters.
There's like a lot of that sort of thing bleeding into modern media.
Maybe
like that's a major plot point in the first couple episodes of Gen V that I just randomly I'm also watching at the moment. Like People who make media
Fed up with haters.
Deal with a lot of shitty comments.
I
guess it's inevitable. It's going to start bleeding in there.
Yes. Some kind of awareness. Like, again, it is in the context of Alan Wake's haters, but who knows?
Dude, I should not get off on a tangent here. I watched a best of 15 last night in Battle Aces, that RTS that we talked about last week. I think it was the first like pro match exhibition that's been like commentated by Artosis, one of the big.
I have heard of Artosis.
Yes, it was Tasteless and Artosis, the premier StarCraft 2 caster. Anyway, dude, that chat was fucking unreadable.
Yeah,
like I don't even work on that game. I don't have a horse in the race, and I wanted to reach through the screen and fucking throttle some of these people. Like, holy shit.
Like, unreadable, not because it was scrolling so quickly.
No,
unreadable,
it was toxic.
It was toxic.
Like, insanely toxic, you know?
Just
like,
rancid.
just, holy shit, man.
Huh.
That is the way of it. I mean, any of these kind of like major stream type things, it just feels like there is no stopping that flood. No matter how much you try and moderate it, there's just too many people, and too many of them are assholes.
Yeah, it's rough.
I didn't. How old is Artosis at this point?
Well, I don't know. He's probably mid-30s or something. I don't know. Just guessing.
Okay. He's been at it a while.
Yes, definitely. Definitely some arguments in there about like, you know, it was a bunch of like, oh, this is like RTS for babies with training wheels. This is not RTS. But then a bunch of other people was like, shut up, boomer. Like, just fucking like, just go to the retirement home already type shit. Just anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Do you know who the host of the PC gaming show is?
Is it still Day 9? It was Day 9 for a long time. So Sean Plott.
Was he a big RTS guy?
Yes, huge.
Okay.
He is Tasteless's brother. Like the Plott brothers are both huge in StarCraft.
Okay.
Because Tasteless's brother.
That's a sentence, huh?
Yeah.
So, okay. I don't know that much about that stuff, but there was some crack or scripted crack when they were talking about RTS games, and somebody was like, well, you wouldn't know anything about those. And
yes,
it made me feel like, oh, this person must obviously be a big RTS.
Oh yeah, he knows a thing or two about those.
Okay.
They've all gone back to StarCraft 1. Just
really,
in case you're wondering.
Brood War, or
Brood War. I mean, it's nobody plays like base StarCraft 1, but like, you know, I got to talk to Bob, and I was lucky to get to chat with David Kim a little bit at SGF, so I got to talk to them because, you know, they both worked on StarCraft 2 for a long time, and like the whole competitive scene in Korea and everywhere is basically just back to Brood War now.
But not original Brood War, that re-release?
I think everybody plays the remastered one that came out a few years ago.
Okay.
Because it's got modern matchmaking and stuff, but like I don't know that there's much of a like hardcore competitive scene around StarCraft 2 at this point. Like if you wanted to watch professional StarCraft 2, I don't know that you even can now.
Build more pylons. Get more Vespene gas. Alan Wake 2, pretty good. Or Night Springs, pretty good. Alan Wake 2, also pretty good.
Yeah, also pretty good.
You know what else is pretty good?
What?
The Twilight Zone.
Zone's pretty good.
I randomly was just watching a few episodes of that a couple of months ago, and like I know it's not some great revelation, but man, that show still holds up.
Oh yeah. Way more banger episodes than not.
Yeah.
I'll also say this. You know, maybe not for everybody's family, but I would say pretty family friendly. Like kind of some episodes a little more creepy or
a little creepy here and there, but by and large, I would say it is a very manageable show for a younger audience.
Watch it with the kids. It's never gory, really.
No. And even like anything like scary is filtered through the kind of mid 60s, like kind of somewhat low budget special effects, so it's not like super disturbing necessarily, but
yeah. Kids kind of enjoyed it,
but it's got that really like nicely encapsulated like parable morality play kind of thing going on that I miss, that is not really in TV so much these days.
Yeah, no one's really interested in morality on television anymore.
Yeah,
we talk about. Look, I watch all my reality TV shows. You tell me that there's no morality in my reality.
No, it's, you know. To be fair, a lot of those people came out of World War.
the Twilight Zone folks
wanting to maybe tell some stories about the perils of greed and nationalism and all that sort of thing,
or the dangers of you know, what could happen in a slip of the lens here and looking through a different reality.
Yeah. It's like, we've maybe seen the worst of humanity. We should, like, warn some people.
Nope. Those warnings went on.
Nope. Went unheeded.
Yeah. Nope. Alan Wake 2 Night Springs, very good. I recommend it if you haven't checked it out yet and you own Alan Wake 2 and you want a little bit more of the silly stuff. It just is not, it doesn't really nestle back in too much. Though there is some stuff with Door that is interesting that maybe will be explored later on. I actually have to go look up some things now that I've finished it and see if there are any alternative paths to take. People who have played through it would probably know what I'm talking about, but in the last episode, I'm very curious if you get some choices to make. Wondering if there are alternative paths that could have been taken. Seems like I got where I needed to be. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about some more games. Stick around. All right, we are back. And we've all adjusted our gain. I think we were getting a little too excited in the heat. So if we sound a little clippy or buzzy at the top, we've adjusted. We make adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of making adjustments, Still Wakes the Deep.
Nope.
You know what I mean. No, you know
what you mean.
No,
you didn't get there.
By the end of this, by the end of Alex talking about Still Wakes the Deep, you'll know what I mean.
I don't think I will. I don't believe that for a second.
Alex, what's going on with Still Wake the Jeep? How have the folks who've made
Still Wakes the Jeep? Is that what you just said?
How have the folks that made Dear Esther and Machine for Pigs adjusted in their new game? No,
I'm still not giving it to you.
No,
sorry.
Okay, fine.
Yes, this is the Chinese Room. This is their latest exploratory horror game. It takes place on an oil rig in 1975 off the coast of Scotland.
Good setting.
Yeah, great setting. And also, it is extremely profoundly Scottish. Like, every character is extremely profoundly Scottish. And I've mentioned this before. The Scottish accent is one of my favorite accents to hear spoken by anyone ever, because it doesn't matter how incomprehensible it is, it's just so much fun.
Mm. Yeah, I agree with
now which one is the question?
Oh, boy. Yes.
I don't have the UK gene you need to differentiate most English, Scottish, Welsh, or Irish. I can sort of pick apart, but I could not give you the nuances between different Irish accents. I could probably give you the difference between like a Liverpool and a London accent, maybe, but that's probably it.
Yeah, I met some people from Scotland recently, which made me think about it, and I'm guessing the Glaswegian accent is probably the one everybody thinks of as Scottish.
Like that?
I mean, it's probably the only one I recognize.
I'm pretty sure if you're from Aberdeen, you also still sound very Scottish.
Yeah, maybe.
What is a brogue? Is that just
that's a generic term, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a fun thing about this game is that everyone is talking very Scottish, but when they get into the weeds with like extremely Scottish terminology, they give you the regular definition of it. So every time someone says gobshite, it says bastard on the subtitles.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're playing with subtitles on.
They suggest you do that out of the gate, and honestly, they're right.
Okay.
It's not that the game is indecipherable. In fact, I'd say the voice acting is very good. Even when it gets deep into the Scottishisms, like you can still at least understand what the person is saying if you don't know the terminology.
Yeah.
But the setup here is they dug too greedily and they dug too deep.
Mm-hmm.
For oil.
Say.
Yeah. They call it a mine. Yeah, so they're on this oil rig. You are a guy who has run afoul of the law, possibly for beating the shit out of someone who was harassing your wife or something. But you basically took off for a while because of that, and this guy who worked on the oil rig was like, I'm working on the oil rig for a while. No one will know you're there. And then eventually, at the beginning of the game, it sounds like they do know where you are, and you were called into your boss's office, and he's like, you're fucking fired.
Oh, where do you go?
That's the thing. You get on a helicopter, and you're supposed to leave, but then things go wrong.
Ooh.
And the things that go wrong, I'm going to avoid talking about in any great detail here, but suffice it to say, it's a horror game, so what went wrong and what they might have drilled into, you can probably imagine. The only thing I will say is visually, maybe not amazing, but it definitely gives you the sense that something otherworldly has happened.
I was going to say...
Visually, you mean like the art design of the weird shit?
The first time you come upon a spot where so in the aftermath of everything going wrong, you're walking under, you have to get across the rig, but you have to do it by walking on the catwalks under the rig. And when you do that, you see what they were drilling into. And what that is mostly just a lot of ethereal wrapping stuff that kind of comes up out of where the drill hole is. But, you know, the basic gist of it is whatever they drilled into, if people touch it, it turns them real bad wrong.
Okay. I was just asking about the art design because, like, technically, looking at this footage, this game looks pretty good.
Oh,
like,
it's very sharp.
Some of these, like, just the mundane scenes of, like, in the cafeteria on the rig and stuff, like, these are, like, very good-looking characters, and it's got a nice film grain and stuff.
Yeah, no, I think all the core art design stuff is really good. The characters are very expressive. It's a fun environment to explore because it is, I think, a fairly novel setting for a game like this. I wasn't like blown away when I saw like, oh wow, what the fuck did we just drill into? It was just kind of like, yeah, okay, that's weird. You're right. Let's just get on to the next climbing puzzle. I think my only real beef with this game, and granted I've only played about 2.5 hours of it or so at this point, but all the beats in the early goings of the game are profoundly predictable, and not in like a horrible way or anything. But in a horror game, you kind of want to be surprised. And I kind of felt like I got every single jump scare, like, about, a few seconds before it came. Like, it just feels like it is taking you through the motions of how a lot of these games are in the beginning. It's like, oh, you're going through your slice of life, and then, something goes wrong. And now no one knows what's going on. You got to go find the NPCs, and they start telling you about little things that are going weird, but they don't really know what's going on. And then there's a bunch of weird climbing and, sort of like, navigating the broken space stuff. And it just all is a little bit, I've done this many times before in many games like this.
Maybe a little too by the numbers.
Yeah, and it's possible it changes things up as it goes along. That's fine. Like, and again, none of it is terrible. It's just I was really hoping for like maybe just a little bit more in the way of like novelty or surprise in the beats of what I'm doing, and the early goings don't really have that.
It's like not a game where you're holding on to weapons or anything, right? Like you're.
I mean, you pick up items and stuff. It's a lot of climbing. It's a lot of poking around. It's a lot of, like, hey, this area is blocked off, so, like, you have to balance beam over this area, or, these girders are marked yellow, so you can climb on that kind of stuff.
Okay, but you're not, like, shooting monsters.
I mean, I haven't run into any real monsters that I needed to shoot at this point. It does not seem like it is really that kind of game.
Okay.
It's more of a avoid the thing that is chasing you or that is around, like, or, it seems more puzzle-solvy. It's possible that changes as you go along. Like I said, I'm not that deep into it yet, but what I've gotten into it so far feels very much like it's about the exploration and the tension, less about, like, action.
Okay. And there are some other people on this rig. You're not like everybody is gone now?
No, it's not you alone, at least not at this stage, but, some people are in bad shape. Some people are around and can kind of help you, or at least are telling you where to go, but it's kind of bedlam on there, and you're just trying to pick through the wreckage.
There's an interesting enough setup. You have already made me curious about how it will wrap up in terms of, he's a wanted person who is ready to be extradited back to the coast so that he could be picked up by the police, right? So,
you mean the police?
If you say whatever you say,
that's what they say. That's what they call the police, is the police.
And then, maybe getting rid of this rig and having no survivors is the way to go.
Maybe. I mean, here's the thing: even if it never stops being kind of what it is right now, it still feels pretty solid. Like, none of what I'm saying is meant to say, like, hey, don't play this. Like, especially because it's on Game Pass. It's on Xbox and PC Game Pass.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, which one are you playing?
I'm playing PC. And I think that it's just one of those things where it's like, it feels a lot like a lot of other games like this. It just has the novelty of the setting and I think the good character work to kind of set it slightly apart. But even if it isn't more than that, it still seems pretty solid, pretty fun, pretty interesting.
Do you recognize any of the voice actors?
I didn't look at the cast.
Do you know who Alec Newman is?
No.
Do you know who Nev McIntosh is?
No.
Okay, I don't either. Those are the ones they're promoting as a star-studded cast, and I don't know people.
I might know them by face.
Hmm.
Let me take a look.
I'm curious about it.
Don't know them by face either. All right.
Maybe they're voice actors. I'm very curious about it. It's $35 on Steam, but like you said, it's on Game Pass if you have it.
Yeah, it's on Game Pass, and like good production. I really do like the setting. Like that's the thing that's kind of keeping me going. Is that like this is actually kind of a neat space to explore.
Neat.
Yeah.
Still Wakes the Deep. Again, it's from the Dear Esther. What was the other one? Everyone's Gone to Rapture.
Everyone's Gone to the Rapture.
Was that them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's them also. And Machine for Pigs, I think.
Amnesia.
So, that is out now. That is on pretty much everything except for Switch. Seems neat.
Mm-hmm. I'm at least intrigued by it and have enjoyed my time with it so far.
Cool. Moving on, Brad, you have some stuff here, continuing stuff that you were able to see down while you were in LA, but that has, due to various things, cannot be talked about all at once, or as embargoes are coming up, or just spreading out the love.
Yeah, it would have been a 5-hour podcast last week if we talked about everything I played. And yes, we'll talk about some of it in the Nintendo Direct segment because I played a couple of the games in that Direct. That I couldn't talk about until that Direct happened, which nobody knew the timing of at the time.
Yeah, that's funny.
So it was a lot of, hey, the embargo will be later in June. We'll get back to you.
Here we are, slightly later in June.
Yes. Before we get to that, let's see here. I played Stalker 2.
Stalker 2, I've heard of it.
Uh-huh. Yes, It's a real game. It's coming out this year.
Yeah, September 5th.
Soon, too. Yeah, it's not that far.
Yes. They started us at the beginning of the game. It was a 30-minute appointment, and then kind of I got through most of the 30 minutes just fine. Ran into some kind of technical difficulties toward the end that cut me a little short, so I didn't get. But what I was told is the intro, the prologue that I was in is like pretty linear. But I guess the game is like kind of officially open world is how it was described to me. And once you get through that prologue, the game just kind of opens out into the world.
Gotcha.
I have no idea what the like mission structure or story flow or whatever are going to be once you're out there. Did you guys play Stalker? I've orbited around the Stalker games basically since the first one came out, thinking like, man, it would be cool to play those, but it seems like a big mountain to climb.
Yeah, I played some Stalker 1 on one of those Alienware machines we had back at GameSpot because Jason would not stop raving about how good it looked and said I wanted to at least take a peek at it. And it did look real good, to be fair.
I did play. I also played some Stalker 1, and then any other memory I have of Stalker is probably Metro. So I am anything I probably remember from Stalker is just confused with footage of Metro I have in my head and the ongoing. It's been a while since Stalker 1.
I mean, Stalker is a lot more open world, whereas Metro is more linear.
Yeah, fair. Again, it's just all a giant mush.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
I was actually going to be my question to you, Brad, is did they mention how much Stalker 1 knowledge you need to have?
No, I didn't think I asked about that. I just kind of dove straight into the demo. It seems like it sets you up pretty well. Like you're outside the zone at the beginning. You're being sent into the zone with like some scanning equipment. I didn't pick up all the nuances of the story. We were kind of like flying through stuff just because it was a short appointment. You're being sent inside the zone, which is like the irradiated place, where all the monsters live and shit. With some like scanning equipment, you're in there to do a job, which I'm pretty sure goes awry quickly. The demo though was pretty much like watch the intro and then get sent through. Like you're kind of going through a lot of tunnels and dilapidated old industrial stuff to get through the wall around the zone and get inside there. It still feels like RPG-ish is not the right word, but you still got a full-on inventory. Like you've still got a full-on grid-based. Everything you pick up goes into this inventory and has to be like fit into this Resident Evil 4 looking space.
Does ammunition have weight?
That's a good question. I didn't think to
that
look.
Feels like an RPG, old RPG ass thing.
I don't remember seeing a weight rating on anything.
Okay.
But that may be the case actually. That might actually be the case. I'm not sure. But But you do full on just pick up guns and have to equip them on your person. There's like a character sheet looking paper doll thing where you have to put weapons in slots, and you have like equipment gear slots on your belt and stuff. So you have to pick like what to put on where.
Is that mapped to like a numbered hot slot or something?
I was using controller, but I'm sure it's hotkeys as well. But there was definitely like a radial menu that you would pop up, not just to pick the weapons you had equipped, but also the little scanners and gear and stuff, flashlight and so forth. And from there, it was pretty much just kind of following the beats of this was like the intro, like the prologue. So it was pretty linear, and it was like, hey, go here and like place the scanner, like over to this irradiated area, and you need to like run around with this little scanner thing to find the right place to stick the doohickey in the ground. Mm-hmm. There are invisible enemies. I will say a fair amount of my 30 minutes was spent dealing with this invisible motherfucker. Like just nasty looking thing, it would become visible occasionally as it fought you, and it was kind of vaguely humanoid but extremely gnarly looking. That thing was a real bastard. So it seems reasonably hard.
Do you have gear to track it at that point, or not really?
I'm trying to remember. The GSC Game World guy who was there with me was basically just like, you need to run the front of that thing. It's like, I was like, can I fight this thing? Because it killed me like 5 times in a row. And he was like, yes, you can, but you really need to stay on the move.
So
because it was very fast. It could not only could you barely see it, also it was nighttime, I should say. It was like dark.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It was dark, and this thing was invisible. And it could really close the distance on you. So you had to really move to keep it away from you and be able to see it enough to shoot it.
Like Stalker, I don't remember, again, my memory fuzzy. Maybe Stalker 2, you can kind of clue me in. Is it a fairly resource limited game, right? Like you don't want to just burn through ammo, right?
I had like a decent amount of ammo. Like I fought some just soldier guys as well and picked up their rifle, which was a different rifle than I had, and used different ammo. But it is definitely a game of, like, oh, this gun uses 5.56, this one uses 7.62. You need to worry about which bullets go in which gun and how many you have. Like I'd say I had like 20 to 30 bullets at most for a rifle.
Okay, that's not a ton.
Yeah. No, it's not a ton. And I was not finding more constantly. It's definitely not a game of like big glowing pickups of ammo all over the place. Mm-hmm. Like very much seemed like it was like based on scavenging and making do with what you could find.
Or being smart about encounters.
Yeah, for sure. And even that prologue stuff was open enough that I could circumvent. Like if I saw enemies, I could kind of go around them. A fair number of optional areas, stuff like that. So I'm really curious to see more. Like I just didn't get a good taste of the full game because I didn't get into that part. But I'm really curious to see what it's like once it opens up.
Yeah, I mean, like people have been waiting for Stalker 1 was like 2007. 7? Okay.
Yeah.
Man,
17 years ago.
Yes.
Have you guys seen Stalker the movie?
Oh, I didn't know they made one.
Yeah, the Tarkovsky movie from the 70s.
Oh, I thought you meant one based on the game.
No. I'm talking about the movie that's based on the novel, like which the game is also loosely based on the novel.
Oh, I didn't know. I had no idea about that lineage at all.
Yeah.
No.
You should watch we should watch that movie at some point. It's probably one of my favorite like sci-fi movies of all time.
Does that count? If you were to go back and have the discussion, would that count as a This Ain't No Game? Because it's based off the book, which is the game is based
Roadside
off.
Picnic, yeah.
Yeah, so like I guess it's not a game movie. I guess that would be a universe. That would be a
I'd
Wu-Tang.
say it's more of a thing where they're both pulling from the source material, but just in very different ways.
Sure. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd watch it. Is it dark?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, compared to a lot of other Eastern European sci-fi from the 70s, I'm going to say it's not as grim as it could be.
Okay.
It's not on the Silver Globe, for God's sakes.
Is it the exclusion zone? Is that Stalker?
That's real life. In Stalker, they just call it the zone.
The zone? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Because the Chernobyl aspect of it is not in Roadside Picnic, I don't think.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
The anomalies or whatever?
I think that's before the Chernobyl meltdown.
Oh, yeah, it totally was. That was in 86. I didn't even think about that, yes. Because, in fact, the movie I just looked up came out in 79. So, yes, that all predated Chernobyl by quite a bit.
So maybe turning, like, the zone into specifically Chernobyl, I think, is more of a modern, thing that they kind of put into it.
The exclusion zone is a real-life thing.
Yeah.
That's where Drew was. Drew was looking at puppies. And Stalker has like the little like anomalies, right? Like the in the zone, right? Like there's
the ball lightning kind of stuff.
Yeah, is that or like the like hard to see glimmery things happening? Is that Stalker? Again, a lot of Metro getting mixed up in here.
Mm-hmm.
Can never tell which one is quite which. They always seem to be parallel to each other. I mean, Metro kind of filled the gap for Stalker fans, right? Is that how that kind of
Yeah, I can't remember what is the lineage there. Did some people who worked on Stalker go to the Metro developer?
Oh, I super don't remember.
I don't remember either.
It's been so long.
It's only been 15 years. Plus,
4A Games is the developer of Metro.
Are you saying that is 15 years is not a long time?
Yeah. That is correct. 4A Games was founded by former developers from GSC Game World.
Got it. Well, this is coming out real soon.
Couple months.
Yeah, a couple months.
Yeah, I keep thinking it's like end of the year, but yeah, it's actually very soon.
Yeah, and I suspect they will hit this date. So
yeah. I don't think they'd be saying a date at this point if they didn't feel reasonably confident about it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I hope this game is great. I feel like not only for the devs, but people have been waiting for Stalker 2 forever.
Yes, and yes, that development team has certainly been through some shit.
Yeah. Awesome, Brad. What else? What else you got going on?
I'll just go ahead and talk about the other game I played under the Xbox banner was Replaced. All caps, Replaced.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You might not know what game that is just from the name, but if you look it up, I bet you'll remember it.
I had no idea when you said it when we were doing the rundown, and then when I took a guess because you said I might like it as the game that looked
I remember this.
Flashbacky and kind of
vividly.
Yes. It's been on a couple of Xbox like E3 window streams the last couple of years. It's a side scroller. It's like 3D, 2D. It's like all the characters are pixel art looking. The background, like the textures and everything, pretty pixelated, but it's technically like a 3D world.
Yes.
I got a pretty good sense of what the game is, but the demo they had was very arbitrarily cut up into like the title screen was like, it was like prologue, explore, combat. And like when you hit combat, it just put you into like an arena to fight a bunch of guys to be like, here's what the combat's like. And like explore was just like, hey, you're in the city, so you can see what the narrative part is like. You know what I mean? It was not.
Yeah. Like
it was very
chunked out.
Very vertical slice. Yeah. Like just here are some of the modes in the game kind of thing, or some of the things you're doing.
Did they say just how like what you were playing, like how far along they are? Because it still doesn't have a date.
Oh, you mean like where it's at in development?
Yeah, like
no,
like you're playing a really early, like we're still prototyping stuff out, or
nobody who was actually working on the game was there.
Okay,
so they didn't really have a ton of like super in-depth information. But the combat's like pretty hardcore. It's like very counter and parry based and dodge based. It's got full on like colored indicators over the enemies' heads.
Interesting.
It's like if the little yellow, they're not exclamation marks, they're kind of almost like sweat or like motion lines that pop up. It's like, if a yellow one of those pops up, you have to counter it. If it's a red one, you have to dodge through it. That kind of thing. There's like takedown moves that are like pretty brutal. The combat felt pretty good, but it's like quite challenging, at least in that sort of artificial combat arena they had.
It looks so cool.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. Like the animation is really good.
In the footage I'm watching, they still have that camera sway. Is that for this trailer, or do they have like a camera sway in the?
I remember it feeling pretty kind of kinetic, you know, like really a lot of motion, like pretty hard hitting, that kind of thing. I think the biggest revelation about playing it though is it's like way more of a narrative adventure than I expected. Like there are like significant parts that are just you exploring the city, or maybe elsewhere, I don't know, but like the part they had me in was in this city. And like you've got a phone that tracks like objectives, the emails you find, like rumors people tell you about, like kind of to-do list stuff, like tons of people to talk to, like shops to go in and out of, like just a lot of exploration and kind of ambient storytelling in the city.
Did they go into their story?
So they basically said like, hey, try the combat. It was a lot of the appointments of this thing, like I said, are pretty short. So they were like, hey, like best use of time, like try the combat and then do the explore to see what the city is like, and then do the prologue at the end. So the prologue is the last thing I got to see, and I had to cut it short because the appointment ended. It seems it's very cyber.
Yes.
It seems very like maybe artificial consciousness, maybe you're some kind of construct.
So their blurb is
Oh, okay, yes, it literally says that. Okay, an artificial intelligence trapped in a human body. Oh, wow. Right. Okay, so I got some hints of that in that prologue.
Okay,
but I did not realize they had spelled it out that clearly. That's interesting. That's the opposite of like human brain in a robot body is like beyond cliche at this point, right? But AI in a human body is actually a pretty interesting concept.
There's a movie recently, actually, that came out a few years ago called Upgrade that kind of plays around with that concept. It's a really solid, low-budget action sci-fi movie.
Sure.
A couple of games there with some robots that don't know they're robots or
fair.
AIs
like Soma touches on that in a really interesting way. I specifically like if you were just a machine intelligence that then inhabited meat, is what I'm saying. If you found yourself stuck in a literal biological human body, that's kind of interesting. But it seems cool. Like I said, it was so chopped up. It was hard to get a sense of like when does the combat happen? I don't know. Does it just like does combat just break out in the middle of story sequences in the city? I don't know.
Yeah.
But the parts all seem pretty interesting, and like man, it looks fantastic. Like the art style. I mean, you can see it in motion, but it looks so damn cool.
Yeah, it's striking. It really shows well.
So I hope the story holds up its end of the bargain.
Replaced, no date yet.
Yes,
but that's cool. So, and you got to actually play it.
Yeah,
that's very neat.
Yes. What else we got here on my? What did I put on the list for today? Kunitsu-Gami. Yeah, Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess. I played that at the Capcom appointment after I came out of Monster Hunter. They just had like, here's some stations with stuff. It's interesting. It's like a strategy action hybrid.
Okay.
In a way that I don't mean this in a pejorative way. It kind of feels like something from like the PS2 era.
Okay.
Which I actually mean in a kind of refreshing way. It's got a very like Japanese mythological look to it setting.
Yeah.
You're a dude. The stages are very small. They're kind of linear. You're a dude who is like trying to clear a path for this female character. I don't know if she's a literal goddess or not. There was no setup in this demo. You're basically clearing a path for her to walk through this level and reach the gate at the far end.
Okay.
And there's a day-night cycle that just is running at all times. And during the day, you strategize and plan and purge corruption.
Huh.
And at night, the monsters come out. And you have to fight them and defend her.
Okay.
And then if you bleed into a second day, then you get another chance to do more strategizing and stuff. I don't know. You might get more rewards the faster you get her through everything, like the fewer kind of day-night cycles you have to go through.
Okay.
To get her to the end of the level. I'm not sure. Because otherwise, why wouldn't you just like wait until you could beef your forces up as much as possible, right? Like,
right.
I assume there's some incentive, or I don't think there was a time limit. There might be some incentive to do it as fast as you can. Anyway, it's pretty standard 3D action, third-person action. During the day, you're running around. There's like townspeople that are kind of corrupted and like stuck in the environment. And all you do to purge or purify stuff is just like walk up to it and hold a button. But that will free like civilians and also give you some currency. And you also find
the footage like confetti flying out.
Yes, you also get some of that currency just by like busting up barrels and stuff. Like some other. Also, I think killing deer, like killing animals, gives you some.
Huh.
Anyway, that currency you get, you can choose to cash it in multiple ways. You can convert the civilians you find into like kind of almost RTS type units. Like, I think like Woodsman is the basic melee guy. There's Archer. There was some kind of like magic caster, like shield, like buff kind of character. I think those were the three that I saw in the demo. So you can choose to spend that currency to upgrade the civilians to be like AI guys to help you as you fight at night. But you also use that same currency to like literally like paint a path for her to walk on. Like she won't walk until you burn this currency to like paint this sort of ethereal road in front of her.
What if you run out?
Then you have to go get more. Like you also I should point out you also earn a bunch of that currency from killing the enemies at night. So it's basically a thing where like you probably don't have enough of that currency to get her to the gate like immediately before enemies come out. But if you spend it all on advancing her as far along the track as you can, then you haven't upgraded any of the civilians to help you at night. So you're doing all the fighting yourself to try to keep her alive. Does that make sense?
Like kind of, yeah. Like
it's
the resource management.
Yeah, there's a resource management element to it. Like you, not only do you like assign the roles to the civilians, you also tell them where to stand. Like you kind of direct them around. There's some really basic like like defend her or come to me or like attack the enemies, like some basic like controller shortcuts you can do to like issue global orders. So yeah, there's like strategic and tactical elements to it, some resource management. Like the combat is fine, like it wasn't mind blowing, but it's like pretty decent standard third person melee action.
Do you know? I was trying to figure this out. In their description, they call it a Kagura action strategy game. Do you know what the Kagura series is?
I don't.
Or like, is this part
no idea
of something?
I don't know, actually. Now that I just Googled that and it took me straight to the same page you're probably looking at.
And now I'm looking at a Wikipedia page for Senran Kagura.
Oh, wait, what?
And I don't know if it's part of this series.
Maybe? I've been familiar with the name of Senran Kagura for a long time, but I never really knew what it was. I don't know. I do not know what the connection is. They didn't have anybody there repping the game. The demo kiosks were just there to walk up and play.
Okay.
There might be some connection there. I don't know.
Yeah, because I really don't know. I thought maybe it was like, oh yeah, sure, yes, you're gonna paint the path. Sure, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you do this goddess stuff?
Yeah, maybe that's a thing people know and love. I don't know. But, and there are tons of upgrades in between levels. Essentially, there's just all kinds of stuff. You can earn more currency to upgrade.
Do you think you ever get different ways to use the villagers later?
Oh, I'm sure. Okay. Like the menu very much looked like it was designed to accommodate more types of roles, and I'm sure the combat gets a lot harder and more overwhelming because they're just like kind of flooding enemies out of the gate at night.
Okay.
To defend her against, and they take like circuitous routes around the edges of the map, so you can't just. It's pretty tough for you to just be in every place at the same time to defend. You know, you kind of want to place villagers at choke points and stuff like that. A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
People are the towers.
Absolutely.
The bones are their money. The people are the towers. I did want to clarify here. I finally found something from Capcom Europe that says, centering around the concept of Kagura, traditional dances derived from the Shinto religion in Japan, passed down through generations to purify the defiled.
Okay.
You'll guide
I believe she yes, Yoshiro is her name. Like you do I believe you do see her kind of dancing along the path as she goes. So yeah, I guess that does make sense. Like it was cool. Like I wasn't like jumping out of my chair for it, but like there was enough of a hook there with the strategic stuff that I was kind of intrigued by it. And the main thing about it is like it's $50. Like it's not a bad looking game, but it's I'm not saying this in a negative way, but it's like you can tell it's not the most expensive game ever made, right? And like it's kind of like I'm saying that as a positive because I was going into this thing looking for like, hey, we talked about this last week. Like every game can't be $200 million, you know. Like we need more B games. We need more like lower budget games that are still cool type stuff. You know what I mean? So it was nice to see something that was just a little smaller in scope.
Yeah,
but had some pretty intriguing mechanics and is not a full price game. Like I said, it's $50. Which is the new 40 still, I guess.
Right, now the games are 70.
Yeah. So like I might play more of that.
Yeah,
it was like there was something to it. And the levels are short enough also that it felt like you could get in and like I did one level, it was like 20 minutes, and then a boss fight that was like less than 10 probably, and then another level. Like you could just jump in and do a level or two and be good if you wanted to just play a little bit.
You don't get too many games these days that have cycles like that where there's the day cycle. You do the thing in the day and then at night you do this totally other thing, tactical thing. It's interesting.
Yeah, and it didn't feel derivative, like that's kind of what I meant about the I feel like just that PS2 era of game design was a lot more loosey goosey, like people just kind of mashing stuff up and trying things, and
right.
Every game didn't feel like the same game, and this just feels sort of unique.
No, people don't take risks anymore. And big studios don't take risks, but this is getting put out or at least published by Capcom. So that's cool. That is actually coming out soon. That is July 18th. So
that's right.
Yeah. So that's about a month away.
I got a July video game.
You can check it out. And that I think is on everything. Yeah. That's on
that's right.
PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox, no Switch. Speaking of the Switch, I think it's time we take a break. We come back and we talk about what Nintendo revealed about their successor. for the Nintendo Switch in the Nintendo Direct.
You're not going to want to miss this.
Spoilers.
It's huge.
It was nothing.
God damn it. That was going to be the setup. It's huge. It's amazing. And then when we come back, I'm going to say, they announced they weren't going to say anything. You killed the joke before we got there.
That's my role. Been doing it. Been doing it forever. Stick around. We'll be right back. And we are back, and time for the news. And the news this week is mostly the Nintendo Direct that happened on Tuesday, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock here Eastern. Well, we came in hot. Well, I forgot all about that thing. Alex messaged me. Is like, hey, we're ready to go. I was like, oh, good Lord. I was at the computer. I was doing some other Bill stuff. And I was like, I was able to put it all on. We made it.
I kind of wish I had gotten up for this. Like, man, I can't believe like they ran a Nintendo Direct that is enough to fill an entire news segment. Like, this is one of the most stacked Directs I have seen maybe ever from them.
Well, this would have been a 7 a.m. stream for you. So
well, that's what I mean.
We considered that maybe a little too early to come out for the Zelda?
Yeah.
For the Zelda?
Who expected a new Zelda game out of this?
Mainline's Zelda? It's got Legend of Zelda right there.
Yeah.
And look, it truly is.
I'm already seeing people online trying to find where to shove it into their timeline. Their extremely contrived timeline of every Zelda game ever made.
I can tell them where to shove it. I read it.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure we made that exact joke at the second this game popped up.
Where does this fit? Where does this fit in the timeline? And look, I genuinely am a Zelda timeline person, so no jokes aside. So I know it's a sickness. It's dumb. I recognize it, and it doesn't make sense.
I really like, I didn't come up with this, but this was put very eloquently by somebody on Twitter years ago that I saw. Like, it's the legend of Zelda, you know? It's a mythology. Yeah. Like, every game is its own legend, you know?
It's a Final Fantasy.
It's just, you know, as if each one is just being recounted through oral tradition.
But they do reference each other, and that's their problem. They have made direct sequels in stuff like Majora's Mask and
Tears of the Kingdom.
Well, you know, Zelda 2 is a sequel to Zelda 1.
Yeah.
And then Link to the Past positions itself as before Zelda 1.
And then they put out that stupid chronology thing, their multiple timeline thing.
The Hyrule Historia.
Yeah, which they did this to themselves. Anyway, it has nothing to do with this game other than trying to play the fun meta game of where Zelda games fit in with each other. This one, though... So, Alex, you and I, we watched this live. It was fun to see this revealed. Link and Pig Ganon fall into a portal, never to be seen again. They're dead. Princess Zelda is there to save the day.
She's going to put some Octoroks through tables.
Or she's going to build tables to get around the Octoroks. Yeah. Or maybe she'll clone the Octoroks to fight other Octoroks. She has a wand, a duplication wand. The Tri-Rod? Is that what it's called?
Yes. Okay. I think that's right. Yes.
And she has this power to basically remember an object and then to recreate that object later on. The art style is very I don't know.
It's very the Link's Awakening remake.
Yeah.
On Switch. Like I think it's got to be that engine. Like it looks exactly the same. It's top down like Link's Awakening, we should say.
Hopefully it runs well.
Yeah, that Link's Awakening remake looked amazing and really kind of struggled on the Switch. I hope this is a little better than that. This looks kind of amazing.
It looks very fun.
Like if you told me, like I'm fully on board with a Zelda starring Zelda, but if you told me it was a Zelda without a sword, I would be like, But then I actually saw what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It seems kind of like extremely potentially awesome because it seems like you can. It's not like you're absorbing one recipe for a rock or a table or an Octorok or whatever, and then you replace it with another one. Like, it seems like you have just an entire codex of everything you've ever learned, right?
Yeah, it's almost like a Breath of the Wild scroll of items.
Yeah, so it's like, it seems like you could get very creative with, like, I love games with just, like, generalized systems that can combine in weird ways. So it seems like potentially it could be a situation where you could get very creative with some of your solutions to different scenarios.
I think in one of the pieces of footage they show her stacking columns of water.
Yeah.
And just kind of like swimming up them.
Swimming
it
up
seems
it.
very neat.
There's like fire, stuff catches on fire.
Yeah, the game is called Echoes of Wisdom.
Yes. Echoes of Wisdom. I wasn't the Triforce of Wisdom Zelda's Triforce, isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's correct.
Ganon has power and Link has courage, right?
Sure does.
Yeah, this seems like a very cool idea. I don't know. They do show like the actual combat is just like, oh, you spawn a rock to throw it at these moblins, you know, like that could maybe get a little clunky in spots, but
you could also spawn a moblin.
That's true. You could just spawn some moblins to do the fighting for you.
The other big thing about this is it's coming out September 26th.
Yes,
that's just happening.
Crazy that's not their big holiday game.
I mean, we should say I kind of set it up a little bit goofingly before we got in here. They did say before they'd had this direct that they would not be talking anything about what their hardware plans are.
Yeah.
Yes.
In
that's
terms
what you
of
ruined the joke about.
Yeah, that was what I stepped on Alex's joke for, to say that, look, it's a shadow that hangs over a lot of this stuff because that thing is probably going to come out next year, we assume, right?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Short of some crazy disaster happening, yeah.
The quick chronology of rumors was like all the rumors were pointing to like late this year for that thing, somewhere between like September and November for a Switch 2. Then they said like, no, that's not happening. The last brief to investors from Nintendo was they will reveal the game in this fiscal year.
The hardware?
Yeah, yes, the hardware, not the game.
Okay.
They will reveal the system. Reveal, I think, was the language, which I assume means like, hey, here's what it is, here's what it's called. Will not necessarily come out this fiscal year.
Okay.
And that's by the end of next March. That really raises some questions for me about these games that they are announcing for this fall.
Yeah.
Because if they had stuck to the rumored plan originally, all of these games would be coming out in the time frame of a new Switch being on the market. So what does that say about, you know, compatibility of Switch 1 games with Switch 2 and stuff? That seems like a pretty positive sign.
I think you can probably safely assume that these games were built in such a way that they were intended to appear on both platforms whenever both those platforms manifest.
Sure. The question then is, are they going to put out separate SKUs for Switch 1 and Switch 2 versions of games, or will Switch 1 games just all run on a Switch 2? We sure hope so.
Or is there an upgrade path for a Switch 2 enhanced version?
Yeah, you would hope so.
These are the kinds of questions you can't answer, though, until you know what the actual upgrades for the system are going to be.
Yeah, for sure. And that gets even more relevant as we get to Metroid. You could see both. You could see a situation of like, hey, like it's got essentially 100% backwards compatibility, but also like here's Breath of the Wild running way better.
Yeah.
Here's some of these recent games that we've done actual work on to make them like very noticeably better, and maybe that's an upgrade fee, or God forbid, maybe it's a whole new purchase. I hope not.
Maybe it's almost like Xbox did, where it's like enhanced for Switch 2.
Yeah, that would be great.
You'll see these other things. Mm-hmm. I guess one of the questions it does answer, and the reason I actually bring it up for this now at Echoes of Wisdom, A, because it'll be kind of the shadow over the entire thing, but B, because they also announced a gold-colored Switch Lite alongside this, which feels pretty late in the game if you're picking up a new Switch, but it's a collector's edition. It's for people who maybe also just want...
They bought those boards.
Yeah, yeah.
They have to sell them at some point.
Yeah. And, you know, some people just have like 8 Switches, you know?
Yeah. And, I mean, it's a cool looking Switch, honestly. But I guess the thing that it must answer is that whatever the next thing is probably won't be too far controller-wise from whatever the Switch is, or gimmick-wise from what the Switch is. It probably shares a lot of DNA with the Switch. Maybe they have one or two new features, but...
I would argue that Nintendo has never had less incentive to change the gimmick of their console than they do right now.
They hit on such a winning gimmick that I feel like even calling it a gimmick is a disservice. Like it's just an amazing concept for a hardware platform.
Yeah.
That's only really been held back by the limits of the specific hardware they have, right?
Well, it was such a game changer that now there are these other companies that are trying to do their version of the Switch. There's the fucking, there's the Steam Deck. There's a whole cottage industry now of get your PC games on a thing that is a form factor like a Switch.
Yep.
Like they nailed it.
Yeah, they really did. And, some of that just came about by nature of the technology finally getting good enough that you could play games like this in a mobile way.
I guess one of the questions would be in whatever, and we don't have to spend too much time here because it is pure speculation, but we assume, based on some of the reporting, the controllers in the first version of this will come off of the, it won't be a Switch Lite. It'll be detachable.
Yeah, that's my
Joy-Cons.
assumption.
Yeah, the reporting was around that weird not actual electromagnetism, but whatever that like on-off magnetic technology is.
Sounded cool.
Detachable Joy-Cons that way.
But that's The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. I did not look to see if they're taking pre-orders for it yet to see if there's a price. I assume it's a $60 game on did Nintendo go full 70 for everything yet?
I don't think so.
I don't. I feel like they might have sold a $70 game or two, but I don't think that's the norm.
Let's see. I'm just checking to see if there's an eShop page for it yet. I don't think there is.
There isn't. Okay.
It does not look like it's. Yeah, maybe. No, they've got like news items and stuff on their site, but no store page yet.
Okay. Well, let's keep going now with the Nintendo Direct, because that wasn't the only big Nintendo franchise that made its, or let's say, popped its head out.
Yeah,
Mario and Luigi.
Yeah, man, there's some stuff in here. Like, I will just say, like, I'm as guilty of this as anyone, but all the man, Nintendo has no games this year. What are they going to do? They were supposed to ship a Switch 2. Now are they just going to do nothing for the next 9 months? Like, really eating words on this one.
Well,
like they had so much brewing that they either was not known about, or stuff like Metroid that was just MIA. And like they really brought it on this one, I have to say.
They do have a range here of dates, let's say. They're from, let's say, September to this next one, which is 2025.
Yeah, like, by God, they showed Metroid.
Metroid Prime 4.
They showed Metroid Prime 4.
It's real.
It sure looks like a Metroid Prime game.
It sure does, and maybe some ways that are faithful and some ways that are like, this is a 2025 date on here.
Yeah.
This is probably, we would like to assume, and again, pure speculation, but when this comes out, it is possible whatever new hardware is close or nearby or out or launch, whatever. This game looks like not something on a new piece of hardware.
No, it looks like a very good looking Switch game.
Yeah.
Like the number of people out there going like, was that secretly Switch 2 footage they were showing? Like, no.
I don't think so.
You should be hoping that it isn't.
Yeah.
Not only I think is the Switch 2 going to look like dramatically better than this, but also that's just super not Nintendo style to just like stealth throw something that momentous in and
not at all
comment on it.
And especially in this day and age where that would be extremely misleading. Like you don't have that hardware officially announced. You're showing a game that is purportedly on the Switch.
Yeah.
If you then did a bait and pun intended switch for the footage, that would be kind of messed up.
Yeah. This looks good. Like it looks quite good. Like graphically looks good. Like we said, certainly looks like a Metroid Prime.
I'm going to say my only criticism of this, the way they showed it, is that it just didn't feel very splashy. Like, I know that they saved it as the one last thing. They showed the gameplay, and it was just kind of like, yeah, that's a proof of life. Okay. Like, it did not have that big bombast that I was kind of hoping of, like, no, this is why it's taking so long. Here's your Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah, like the proof of life phrase that you like to use a lot definitely came to mind when I saw this. Like, it's better than that, but it very much is just like, here's the meat and potatoes of a Metroid Prime game.
It really was like a checklist, right? Like, scan a thing.
Here's scan a thing. Here's morph balling through a tunnel.
Here's moving and shooting
guys.
Here's the lock-on combat that you know and love.
Yeah.
Here's the antagonist, I guess, which I never would have known this if people hadn't pointed it out. Apparently the bad guy is just like a jobber from Metroid Prime Hunters.
Oh, that's beyond my ken.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I finished Hunters. I played some of it.
I love that we gotten you using the term jobbers on a regular basis now.
I hope I use that correctly.
No, you totally, if you're talking about just like a scrub who loses, yes.
That's my understanding. I don't remember this dude from that game. I don't know if I ever even saw him, but my understanding is he was just kind of a throwaway guy in that game. That was a DS game for people who don't remember. Like, Hunters is like I just looked it up. 2006 is when it came out, but that's like...
Good lord.
almost 20-year-old game on the DS that they plucked this guy from to apparently be the big bad here.
Was Hunters a multiplayer thing?
No, it might have had. I think it might have had a multiplayer mode actually.
Okay,
that was, if I remember, that was like pretty deep in there. Like, hey, the touchscreen can be a mouse kind of era.
Like use the stylus and move the.
I remember the little thumb nub that they put out.
Yeah,
you're supposed to like use that as like a stylus kind of thing to like thumb look around on the. Anyway,
I have that thing. I used it for. Why do I think I used it for a Resident Evil?
That's possible.
Is there Resident Evil on there?
They also did that Mario 64 port they did to DS. They also pushed like touchscreen controls for that as well.
But yes, the Metroid Prime 4 Beyond lives.
And in fairness, like for people who don't remember, I went and reminded myself of exactly the timeline. This game has been through 2 developers and was restarted when it changed developers. Like Bandai Namco was making this originally.
I do not remember that.
When they announced it in 2017.
Wait, really?
Oh yeah. I remembered that vaguely, but I wasn't 100% sure it was Namco, but sure enough it was. But a couple years later, and this is pretty unlike Nintendo, so it must have been rough. They full on came out and said like, hey, we're moving development to retro. The game was not meeting our quality standard. Like we're starting over basically. So this game's actually like 4 to 5 years of development.
I did remember it going back to Metro or retro. I totally forgot that Namco had anything to do with that.
Yeah. So, hey, Nintendo's farmed their stuff out fairly regularly. They've given Capcom
to Namco even.
Yeah, they've given a lot of the sports games to Namco. Like Capcom did a number of the handheld Zelda games for a while.
Did Namco also do that one Star Fox game for the GameCube?
That sounds right.
The one where you got in the tank and were like running around and stuff. That game was not very good.
Who was Other M? Is that
Team Ninja?
Team Ninja?
Yeah.
God, Other M.
Yeah, they'll give.
I didn't hate Other M.
They'll give Metroid to anybody.
That's
That was cool.
Good to see it. It's good to see that it's good to see that it looks like it's in good shape and is a year or less away.
I'll say this: the big Nintendo franchises making debuts, or at least versions of them making debuts, made me wish there was a live stage here with people in the audience, because there would have been explosions.
Oh yeah, it would have been. It would not quite have been the Twilight Princess reveal, which I was there for that. And it was deafening in the audience.
But seeing some of this ship come down,
some of this stuff is up there in terms of like fans losing their minds.
Yeah, and I think it just has less. And again, maybe I'm stealing wrestling terms here. Less of a pop when
these are the terms to steal if you're going to.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I don't know if I should be embarrassed to admit this. Like I went back and watched this thing on Twitch so I could see how fast like the chat scrolled along. Because they archive chat and timed to the video now.
Yeah.
So I was like, I wonder what chat was doing when Metroid got announced. So I literally went and watched it that way, which is a little weird.
Did it all just say Metroid scrolling very fast?
People were pretty excited.
All right, up next, another big Mario and Luigi Brothers game.
Yeah, Mario and Luigi, a new Mario and Luigi game for the first time in like almost a decade. Holy crap.
So when this was being shown, Alex and I were, I think, just going back and forth saying, is this a remake? Is this a new one of these?
It is not. It is a new game.
I'm pretty sure Bowser's Inside Story is the only one they've done a remake of. Or not, that was even just an enhanced version, I think.
So this is, I am not I have respect for these. I did not play a ton of the Mario and Luigi games.
Oh, I love these games.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of them.
I know people love them.
Played the shit out of the first couple.
Yeah, Superstar Saga, Partner. I didn't play Partners in Time, but Bowser's Inside Story is like one of my favorite games probably ever.
That's high praise.
Yes.
They have some real fun with those games.
Very funny. Like it was like Treehouse in top form on that game.
I played Superstar Saga a bunch, but I don't remember it. I don't remember. But that was on the DS?
Yeah, no, GBA.
GBA. Oh, wow. Jeez Louise.
Yes, it's been around for a while. They made a couple more that I never played. Was it Dream Team and Paper Jam, I think, are the newer ones. Paper Jam did not review well. And that was
this art style is interesting. It's a little more like cell-shaded.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sold on it. It's like it can't quite decide if it wants to be cell-shaded or not. I don't know. It's okay.
It's straddling a line.
I don't mind it. but it's something to get used to. My biggest question is just who's making it, because the developer Alpha Dream of all of those games shut down since the last one came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm curious who is behind this. Play the game and find out. It'll just be, hey, you'll find out when you play the game.
Yeah.
In the credits.
Is the Nintendo standard now. It looks good, though.
Yeah.
And that was a good opener, I think. That was like a good, like, set the tone kind of game to have there.
Yes, just like, hey, by the way, we've got games you didn't even know were happening.
That's Mario and Luigi Brothership, and that also is this year.
Mm-hmm.
We have a November game.
That's their kind of big before holiday game, I guess.
Which, I mean, is, not gigantic by Nintendo holiday standards, but for the end of life of a console, I feel like that's a decent little capper.
Yeah, and playing one on the Switch will be awesome, because those games never got off of handhelds. I mean, yes, this is a handheld, but it's also not.
No, that's fair. That's
like having one of these games you can just play on the TV will be pretty rad.
Yeah.
I hope, please tell me the stash stat is still in there.
If it isn't, we riot.
I know, it's not a Mario and Luigi game.
Well, the Mario and Luigi games, were they the first ones to have the stage with like when you get combat? Did they have any you go onto a stage and do stuff with a curtain?
Oh, you mean like a theatrical quality?
Yeah.
I thought that was
like
more Paper Mario.
Audience.
I mean,
I always Paper Mario.
No, I always cite Super Mario Brothers 3's title screen as that.
Yeah.
Like, quite frankly,
okay.
like that was the beginning of the theatrical motif.
Yeah.
They're all players on the stage.
Was that big in Superstar Saga?
I can't remember.
It's been so long.
Yeah.
It had timed hits though, right?
I feel like yes, it definitely had that. That might be more of a Paper Mario thing.
Yeah, I think you and Alex are right. That might be more Paper Mario. I get some of the non-actiony ones all jumbled together.
Yeah. It's just a me thing. I find myself more and more wishing I had bought the damn OLED Switch when it came out.
Well, we're going to move past Switch entirely soon.
Yeah, I hope the new one has a screen the size of the OLED. I'll say that. Because
maybe
I have to take my glasses off to play the current Switch now. Sucks.
I wonder, again, we'll bring this up from now until this hardware is released. Like, will these just come over next year? They're so close. This is November. Will we just get a Mario and Luigi version for whatever next hardware is?
Yeah, it really just depends on what their backwards compatibility policy is.
Or I assume that we'll be able to play these games, but will we get an enhanced version or a different SKU? Yeah,
it's tough to say. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it depends on if they want to monetize it or not. Yeah. I'm going to say if they don't, if it's like a free thing, it's going to be pretty light touch and probably just a few games,
Like just plays better.
Right. It's like, it's like slightly higher resolution or something.
Maybe get 4K out if that thing can do 4K out.
All
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Next up, Brad, you got to see or play or touch?
Yeah, I had some of these games that were in this direct I played at Summer Game Fest, and now I can talk about them, such as the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake.
This looked cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I guess this was announced ages ago.
So that's what folks were saying about 3, but not 1 and 2.
Yes,
the 1 and 2 thing was new.
They didn't even mention the 1 and 2 thing at the meeting I took for this to play 3.
Weird.
Like, they didn't. It was not even. For all I knew, they didn't know at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like the 1 and 2 part may have come down from Japan in the last week or something.
So I didn't know when we were watching this live. I'm not a Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior person much at all, and I didn't know 3 was the one. So I was kind of confused why 3. Why are we doing 3? Where are 1 and 2?
Yeah, well, I guess it's the first in the chronology is the main thing. That's the thing they kept harping on at the meeting was, hey, this is chronologically, this is the first game in the entire Dragon Quest series. It's the beginning of the Erdrick trilogy.
The Erdrick trilogy, yes. They did mention that at the end of the presentation. And they were like, and you play 3 first, and then you can play 1 and 2.
Yeah, that seems to be the idea here. I was going to look it up. I guess it's not a big deal, but I think they announced this a long time ago, but in a very low-key fashion, and then kind of didn't promote it, was my understanding. And I think I saw a headline going around recently that they said something about wishing they had not announced it so early. You can see what it looks like in the footage. I don't need to describe the look really, but it's very much that style of what Square is calling HD 2D now. Like sprites in a 3D world with really heavy, kind of tilt shift looking depth of field stuff.
Yeah.
Nice lighting. Like that Live Alive remake has the same style. It's kind of similar to Octopath Traveler, right?
Right.
They plopped us in like kind of right past the intro, like basically in the starting town, like just about to leave to go on the quest. I got to play 20 or 30 minutes of it. It's hard. Like they are not messing around.
Like combat?
Yes, like it is still very much that style of 80s RPG that is like, man, these games were hard back then. I forgot. They have added some quality of life stuff. There's like a mini map. There's like just objective indicators, full on when you go to your status screen, it just tells you where to go next, stuff like that, which you didn't have back then.
Do monsters appear on the map as you're walking in the overworld?
No, it's full on random encounter. But like the stuff you take for granted these days is still not there. Like each character has their own inventory. Like you have a general stash for your party, but you can't go into that stash in battle. So if you need healing herbs, if you haven't put a healing herb in any of your individual character's pockets, you are not using a healing herb in that battle.
Oh, no kidding, yeah?
Yes. Yeah, like every character has their own inventory individually.
Okay.
And only what is in their pockets can they access in battles.
What's in its pockets?
As an example of,
That's pretty severe.
Yes. So there's no like healing, there are healing items, there's no resurrection item. There's no
Phoenix Down?
Maybe you like. I think they actually said Phoenix Down in the meeting when they were telling us about the demo. Which
hey, look, it's Square Enix now. Okay.
Yes, it's all these franchises are under the same umbrella now. You have to go back to a town to res people after they die.
That's hardcore, man. But that's great.
You have to go to a church and pay to bring people back. And I lost party members in the first fucking dungeon, like the literal first dungeon in the game. Like, not even at the boss, like, just 2 random fights. I had a party member die, and I was like, oh, going back to town. Like, it's, and it's like you have double-digit hit points at the beginning. I feel like that's always the sign. Any RPG where you have, like, 12 health to start is going to be pretty hardcore. So that's kind of what I can say about only playing 20, 25 minutes of it. Like, it looks nice. Like, it very much feels like an old school RPG.
Do you know, like, the art they're kind of going for here? Is it like Toriyama inspired from the later, Dragon Quest stuff? Like some of the enemies here kind of look inspired by his art. Like some of the footage I'm watching.
Oh, you mean was he involved?
Like, earlier on when they were doing this.
He absolutely did the art for all these games. Like,
he did for the remasters.
No. Oh, you mean this specific remake?
Yeah. That's yes.
Like these,
are they going in and like are they kind of squashing down some of these? Because the art in the original game was not this.
Yeah. Oh, you mean just like the literal sprites from the original game?
Yeah.
I started to ask.
I don't know if it's a sad path to go down,
That's kind of why I didn't ask. I was sort of like, hey, like in light of his tragic passing, what can you say about his involvement in the game? Yeah. Did not get into that. Like, I don't know. I don't know how much. Like, Bird Studio was credited. I think you see that copyright on stuff, which is his company, I believe.
Okay.
So, like, he definitely, I think, like, at least in a business sense was involved. I don't know how much he, like, touched the art in this himself.
Yeah, like go back and redraw enemies and make sprites of them. It's interesting.
Yeah, because like Sandland was also in development at the same time as this, and I think he was probably more involved in that.
Dragon Quest is a thing I always wished I had more knowledge of, just because it's. I kind of feel like a lot of people drew lines between Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest at some point, and I kind of fell on the Final Fantasy side of things.
Yeah, that's kind of where I ended up for whatever. Well, Final Fantasy just ended up having a way stronger presence in America.
Yeah.
Like Dragon Quest, they did put out more of those games over here, but like they didn't put out all of them and they didn't quite get the fanfare.
Yeah.
And, Final Fantasy itself was fairly niche until 7, frankly.
So I might go back and check these out.
Yeah.
Like, will I play all 3 of them to completion? I don't know. That's like a pretty big investment, but
yeah, like
I'm curious.
Yeah, same. I want to play this. Like, will I even play this one to completion? I'm not sure, but I'd like to at least try it. Like when he passed, I did have a yearning to like, I should play a Dragon Quest game. Like, should I get 11? And then everybody's like, 11's 200 hours long.
Good by all accounts, but yes, it is extremely long.
This might be a little more approachable. I didn't get the sense they've done anything much to the story. Like it is the story. So you can imagine from what I saw, I'm pretty sure this is some very meat and potatoes. Heroes set out to fight to vanquish an ancient evil kind of shit. Like I don't know that there's going to be a lot of surprises or twists and turns in the story, but
look, I want to know how Erdrick got set up here.
Yeah, I guess the one other thing playing it that was interesting was there was like one tree on the map as I was walking around that looked a little different. I was like, oh, that looks strange, and I walked into it, and it kind of cut to a close-up scene, like it was a location you could enter, you know, but the game was not pointing to it as such. You know what I mean? So it was like
secrets.
And later, I did find a character who in town was just like, "That's a weird looking tree out there, isn't it? To the west, you should go check that out, huh?" But I had found it before that, so it was kind of a nice little moment, and I got a really good weapon there, I should say.
Sequence breaking.
It was a nice moment of like, oh, there's some stuff to discover. This is not all completely just mapped out and spelled out for you here. There's like some stuff you can stumble into and get a good payoff from. So
can I use my Nintendo Power guides with this version of the game?
I asked them if I could get a free copy if I subscribed to Nintendo Power. I got a hearty laugh out of the people who were old in the room.
Okay, good. Okay, great. That is actually coming out in November as well. It's or at least the third Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D will be on November 14th with 1 and 2 some point 2025.
Yeah, I think this is like a week after Mario and Luigi, right?
Yeah,
it's like
Switch, that was
Switch,
the 7th, I believe.
RPGs on Switch, good month.
Nintendo loves a JRPG. Yeah, this is what they always said. Is if you want to play sports, go get a Genesis. You want your RPGs and your JRPGs, get a Switch. This next one here, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, this one didn't excite me as much as some of the other stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of more of like a nice to have, I think.
Sure,
that game is really fondly looked upon, or very well respected, I should say, as a platformer. But it's kind of been locked up in the Wii all this time. They never put this out on anything else, did they?
I thought they remastered.
I thought there was some other Donkey Kong Country remaster thing that came not that long ago.
Are you thinking of Tropical Freeze?
That might be it.
Tropical Freeze was the sequel on Wii U, and that did come to Switch like 4 years ago or something.
Okay, so maybe that's what
you're probably thinking of Tropical Freeze. Yeah, this is the one that came before that, which, yes, this was only on the Wii and 3DS until now.
Okay.
So it's cool for them to jazz this thing up and put it on a modern platform. Because who wants to hook up a Wii?
Not I.
At this point.
I mean, certainly not for Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah. This one, I wonder if this is one that's been in the hopper for a while because it's a January release, which
yes,
it feels just
weird
like,
date.
Hey, we just need games coming out. So we're going to spread these out strategically.
That is January 16th. Also here, another Mario Party. We got a new one.
Right past it. Just scrubbed right past it.
No, come on, guys. No, it's a new Mario Party. Come on.
We're going to spend 50 turns here. You can't skip a turn.
It's the most important announcement that came out of this.
Super Mario Party Jamboree. They did not necessarily say what the turn limit is in this. I know you were listening, Alex, because you wanted to hear it. But it did say they have over 110 mini games.
I'm going to be honest. I went into a few during that whole thing. And I was never subjected to Mario Party, so I don't have it that bad, and even I was just like glazing over as soon as they started talking about this stuff.
I did not do the Mario Party. Brad, you were the only victim of the Mario Partying work at Giant Bomb. But I played Mario Party with the kids here. We got the Mario Party on the Switch. But
you're not sadists, is the thing.
No.
You just can't get invested in it. Like,
that's right.
Like it could be a cool game, frankly.
And it never will be.
Like, there's a version of Mario Party that actually would be a lot of fun to get invested in a 50-turn match of, right up until it fucks you at the end.
Oh, and this one looks like it's got plenty to do that.
Like, there's, if it actually were a game of skill, it would be pretty cool, but then there's just, the rubber banding on the stars being awarded at the end is just so stupid.
They say Nintendo's a family-friendly company, and yet they put out this game that is just rife with fucking.
Yes, X-rated. That's Super Mario Party Jamboree. That is October 17th, which is right around the relative corner.
So just kind of make sure, to hide out on that day.
That's right.
The Mario Party people will be looking for you.
Join your loved ones. Anything else you guys want to hit everything down the list here or kind of bop around?
No, there's quite a bit of stuff. Like, people seem very excited about this Marvel vs. Capcom fighting collection. Like, I'm not going to care too much, but it's cool to put something out like this.
Yeah.
You have to understand, the Marvel people, they have not feasted in quite some time.
I'm not clear. Is it MVC2 that everybody's so excited about? I got the sense that, like, something in here.
That's the big one.
I think. I bet it's. Is it getting the? Is Iron Galaxy doing this?
I didn't see who was putting this out.
Let me see.
The other big thing was the Punisher beat 'em up being in there because a lot of people. Apparently, it's more than just me. Apparently, that game is more well regarded than I thought it was. But that game is actually super fun.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's cool to throw something in there that's not just a fighting game.
Still, Marvel guy fighting.
What I'm trying to figure out is like Iron Galaxy had done like the Street Fighter 3 and some of those other collections, and like their netcode is very well looked upon.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're doing good like rollback style netcode for fighting games, and so I wonder, is that what it is? Is it that people are excited they can play MVC2 with like good netcode now? Maybe. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know why this got such an outcry. The other outcry is it's not coming out on Xbox. Some number of people are not happy about.
That is kind of a weird one. Like, why?
Yeah, it's probably just an installed base thing, I guess. Like, I don't know.
But it is coming out on PlayStation?
Yeah.
That is kind of...
And PC, I want to say. I think it's like everything but Xbox.
I mean, it could be one of those things where it's just like, hey, if this does well, we'll just throw an Xbox port up at some point.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There aren't that many Xboxes out in the wild right now.
I mean, there's like tens of millions, not that many tens, but some.
There were tens of millions of Wii U's, technically.
No, there were not.
I thought it was like 10, 20 or something.
No, it was like 13.
That's technically, that's more than 10.
That's a 10.
Okay, it's a 10. There is a 10 of that console.
There's
a 10 of million.
Not tens. That thing, boy, what a...
Look, I know it wasn't a lot.
Look, they moved on quickly. We don't talk about it.
I cannot fucking believe the Switch literally is sold more than 10 times the number of the Wii U.
Well, everybody had a Wii, and then they're like, why do I need a Wii U? It's just they got a U at the end.
Historic disaster. Not me. I never bought a Wii, but then bought a Wii U.
Wow. You're part of the problem. You're the one who pushed it over from...
I mean, I'll be real. I might have actually liked more Wii U games than Wii games.
Yeah. Dude, the Wii U is an underappreciated console.
And that's not to say I don't like any Wii games, all right? The Mario Galaxy games, those are on there. That Zack and Wiki game, that was all right. The bowling, I like the bowling.
I mean...
I think the Wii U was appreciated enough. I think it's...
No, I think the console itself was kind of a nightmare, but there were some good games on it.
It was a weird console. You're not wrong, but yes, like quite a few good games, and it was a Wii with an HDMI port on it also.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That was pretty good.
And if you didn't own a Wii, that was pretty good.
It's almost like they should have maybe emphasized that more in the marketing for those people who owned a Wii.
The other thing here I thought was interesting was we finally got Perfect Dark.
Yeah, Perfect Dark. Are they drafting off of? I mean, not like this very recent announcement or unveil of the gameplay, but I wonder if like that's what led to this getting added on here with online play.
Do you remember like the weirdness with the GoldenEye stuff that happened between the Nintendo version of GoldenEye and then the Xbox version of GoldenEye, and then there was like all the weird GoldenEye stuff? Which one has this and which one has online play and which one doesn't have online play? And the Nintendo version is that doesn't have it, and this re-release one does.
Vaguely.
I feel like, how do we wind up in this? I mean, look, the Perfect Dark stuff is apples and carrots at this point. That new Perfect Dark is using the name, and let's just move on from there. But yeah, anyway, Perfect Dark, Zelda 4 Swords, Metroid Zero Mission, and everyone's favorite, Turok.
Man.
Fucking Turok, man.
Turok. Yeah. Are coming to the Nintendo Switch Online if you have the game expansion pack?
Yeah, the whatever their expensive premium version of the monthly thing is.
Yeah, that's the only one that gets in 64 games.
Here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Turok. There's no reason for them not to do this because Turok did sell well, and it is technically a game of the N64 that a lot of people remember.
Yeah, I think there is like a pretty dedicated Turok contingent out there, right?
Right, and they're wrong. Is what I'm trying to come to here is that Turok, the Dinosaur Hunter, sucks.
As an N64 game, like, you know,
mediocre even by the console standards is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Like, as a bigger franchise, like, Turok could be out there doing some stuff.
Stealing people's hubcaps. That's what Turok's up to these days.
Next time I go home, I got to bring that Turok shirt out here with me because that would be funny.
It was Iguana?
Originally, yes, I think that's right.
Acclaim put it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turok fucking sucks.
Turok wanted to be like a first-person thing on the Switch with that horrible...
You mean the N64?
Sorry, the N64 with those the yellow buttons they had to use to move the camera around. And
bueno.
Do the platform. You had to jump and then try and... I just remember pointing the camera straight down and doing the platforming so that I could just see the platform underneath me as I'm jumping around and moving.
Yeah.
That's my memory of Turok.
And lest anyone think I'm just being a hater for hater's sake, I will tell you right now, I'm looking at my Turok cartridge on this shelf right now. I paid literal tens of hours of that game, actual tens, not just 10, because it was an early N64 game. I didn't have a lot of those. You played those fucking games when you bought them, whether they were good or not, and it was not good.
Yep.
It also might be one of the foggiest games.
Oh, yes.
It's 80% of what you're looking at.
Legendary for that.
Yeah.
I've got another couple of games I played here real quick.
Sure, yeah.
Before we get to those, I will say Fantasian finally getting a non-iOS release is nice to see.
People seem excited about that one.
Yeah, I kind of have wanted to play that, and I don't want to sign up for Apple Arcade and play it on a phone or an iPad.
I didn't know much about it until I think you told me and kind of clued me in a little bit more about the kind of pedigree on that game.
Yeah, it's it was maybe not directed, but kind of overseen by Hironobu Sakaguchi, who's the creator of Final Fantasy. I didn't realize Mistwalker was still a thing. That's his studio that he started.
Yeah,
after he left Square, I didn't realize like that name was still in use, but apparently this full on is a Mistwalker game. Nobuo Uematsu, the composer of Final Fantasy, also like probably his last game from the sound of things. Like he did the full soundtrack for this and then kind of immediately said like, that's probably the last time I want to devote 2 to 3 years of my life to a full game again.
Yeah.
The main thing that's cool about it though is that it's digitized backgrounds of a bunch of like dioramas that they built in real life and photographed. So it's got like the Final Fantasy VII style, except instead of pre-rendered backgrounds, they are like actual, like, you know, constructed by hand.
That's interesting. I feel like that didn't play in the trailer.
I watched that trailer and that was not super evident from that trailer. There's other footage you can go look at out there where it's a lot more evident.
Okay.
Anyway, that's not just coming to Switch. That's coming to like everything, I believe. Let's see here. I mean, talk about momentous stuff in a Nintendo Direct, a PlayStation Studios logo on one of these trailers.
I think the remark we made to each other while this was going on was the only way this was ever going to happen was with Lego as a buffer. That's the only way this comes to fruition.
You're right for now, but who knows in the future?
Yeah.
Frankly. Lego Horizon Adventures. I played that. I played it on a PS5 at the Sony thing. Sony appointment.
Only Nixon can go to China. Only Lego could bring Horizon to Switch.
Yeah. Yes, I guess so.
What'd you think?
It was really weird sitting there playing a Sony property on a Sony console and the Sony rep just casually dashing off like, yeah, we're on PS5, PC, and Switch. It's like fucking like, and I just took it in stride and then like record scratch, like, wait a minute. It's cool. It is not Traveler's Tales.
Huh.
Which I feel like I was like, is that legal?
Yeah.
Is anyone else legally allowed to make Lego games? It's Guerrilla in-house. I guess they are working with another studio on it that I don't remember the name of. Studio Gobo, maybe?
Okay.
But it's like Guerrilla doing / overseeing development.
Did they talk? Did they talk?
Yes, they talk nonstop.
Okay, I think that was in the trailer, actually.
Yeah, so you probably got a sense of the tone then. Like, they got all the voice actors back, Ashley Birch and everybody else, but it's like super duper lighthearted, Marvel quippy style dialogue, as you would expect.
No, it's like it is to Horizon what the Beetlejuice cartoon was to Beetlejuice.
Sure.
You know, it's just the funny, goofy parts.
Yeah, or actually, like, I should just go right to the source. It's the Lego movies. Like, it's the style of dialogue from the Lego movie, Lego Batman, like that kind of thing. Like, it's very much that very quick-witted, lighthearted for kids kind of thing.
And we got some of this during the PlayStation showcase as well.
Yeah.
They showcased some of this.
Yeah, this feels more combat heavy than your typical Traveler's Tales Lego game. It was very much just about moving from A to B and fighting stuff. And, traversing some obstacles. There is building, but the only building I saw was like way off the beaten path, and it was just to get like kind of, collectible token type stuff.
Okay.
There is like some of the Horizon flavor in the combat. Like, you hit a button to scan the environment, and that'll light up the weak points on the robots. And then taking down specific weak points will disable specific abilities on the robots, like that whole thing.
Like collecting materials?
I don't
Canisters?
think there's any crafting that I saw.
Okay.
You do find like special use kind of one-off weapons that are like, you've got 12 shots of this and it's gone kind of stuff. Explosive stuff or whatever, but let's see. It's like like kind of a charge weapon. You can like charge up and have like an aiming line, to do like a power shot kind of thing. It's got 2-player co-op.
Can you hack the creatures to like control them?
Not that I saw.
Interesting. Okay.
It seemed, it feels very geared for all ages, so I'm guessing it doesn't get too complex.
My thought after seeing it was, as somebody who has kids too, it's like Horizon is kind of a more mature.
Yes, I very much thought that playing it, and not even like in the sense that it's gory or like morally questionable.
But it's very serious.
Yes, it's just very serious and relatively complex. Like when you get into the kind of deep answers about what the Zero Dawn project was and stuff. Like, there's just a lot of complexity there.
The nature of like humanity and
I think it's like kind of a YA seriousness.
Yeah,
like
so.
It's definitely young adult fiction, not necessarily like a serious adult fiction.
No. Yeah. I don't mean that. What I mean, and maybe I'm not giving like 6-year-olds enough credit, but like stuff about like terraforming and multiple AIs and stuff is like maybe a little bit high concept for younger kids, but probably not. But also they gloss over. Like, I only saw it's a retelling of Zero Dawn. I saw from the beginning of that game up to not even when the village gets attacked and she like leaves the village.
Oh, okay.
But even up to that point, they condense the storytelling like a lot.
Yes,
like the whole like falling down into one of the I can't remember the names for the techno bases, but she falls in the beginning and like finds
cradles.
No, the cauldrons are like the factories.
Oh, okay.
But this was more of just like one of their kind of research facilities. Anyway, she finds the focus, the little ear doohickey. Like, that's totally glossed over in the game. Like, Rost, her adoptive father, just kind of is like, "Hey, I've got this for you. Here you go." And she goes nuts with it. You know what I mean?
Really?
It's like, they just like gloss over kind of relatively major plot points or sequences.
Do they gloss over how she kind of like is not on the good side of her clan there for a little while?
Not really. Or yes, they do. I mean, they do not get into it, is what I mean. Like, I did not see much of that. But like I said, I kind of only got through the first like major mission. You go back to the Nora village between missions to like decorate a home.
Okay.
You can like unlock decorations for your house, like tons of outfits, stuff like that. So
little base building.
Yeah, so it's like it sounds very mission based, like she's not in the main story. She's not going home every 30 minutes. So that's kind of a contrivance for this. It's cool. It seems cool. Like, if you have like younger children, nephews, whatever, nieces that you might want to play through with, or, like it might hold up on its own for.
Yeah, I assume there's co-op or more than more than 2 players?
No, just 2 players. As far
2 players.
As I know.
Okay.
And they cycle in the second player based on like where you're at in the story. Like, it was Varl in this first mission, but later on it would be somebody else.
I assume they take all the romance stuff out.
Is there romance in that game?
There's like trying to be romance in some of the games.
In the first one or the second one?
In all of them. The nature of like where Aloy's feelings are like in the last one, the whole thing is about her being so solo and like, I don't have time. But remember, I think was it Varl, the like big burly dude? Is he the Warhammer guy?
No, Aaron, I think, is the guy with the handlebar mustache. Like Varl does kind of. I think he also gets a beard in the second one, right? So
okay,
if I remember, so he also kind of ages up a little bit. But
I feel like he's trying to put some moves on. I like it. When I say romance, I mean like there is implied romance, but look in the last one, definitely some romance.
Yeah, that's just
Aloy can't do it alone. If we've learned anything, Aloy needs help. That's and now she can build whatever help she needs out of a bottom piece, a top piece, and a head, and maybe some cool hair.
That's right.
Do you get to do any customization on your Aloy to get to change Aloy's signature hair?
Just the outfits, as far as I saw.
Okay,
but there seem to be a lot of outfits in there.
Is C-Theory on there?
Maybe like they're actually there are a bunch of outfits from other Lego properties in there that have nothing to do with Horizon.
Oh, really?
Like how is it Ninjago or Ninjago? I don't know.
I always said Ninjago.
I always said Ninjago.
Anyway, there's a bunch of outfits from that property, for example, that you can unlock.
That's wild.
So it's pretty brand mashup in that way.
Do you fight a Bionicle?
I doubt it. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I don't mean to keep harping on it, but just like hearing the Nintendo Direct announcer just say like, join Aloy and friends. It's like fucking who in your world knows who Aloy even is? Like it's all just like all this brand blending is just happening without comment. And it's so weird.
I do wonder sometimes if a lot of this is just the direct result of neither Microsoft nor Nintendo or Sony actually thinking that Nintendo is their direct competition the way that each other is. Like, not to say that they don't think Nintendo is a competitor in the marketplace, but the Switch is on its own island. It does its own thing. It kind of exists in its own space. And they're just like, that's a demographic we could just throw our stuff at, and maybe they'll, in a year or two, they'll be old enough to buy PS5s.
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, I'm sure in this case, it's a lot of it is just like, hey, we could probably sell way more copies of this if we were on the Switch as well.
Yeah, totally.
Or like sell way more copies of the $90 tall neck Lego thing. If like it's a
for Lego, this is a no brainer, like 100%.
And for Horizon, I'm sure they get a cut of the licensing every time a tall whatever Lego thing sells. I mean, Lego still very big.
Yeah.
Horizon, I still love you, Horizon.
Now is a non-partnered pure Sony IP ever going to come to the Switch? That will be more interesting.
I don't think we're there yet.
Let's say there's a piece of Switch hardware on the market soon that could run, say, God of War or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Will that ever happen? Pure God of War on the Switch? I don't know. I don't know if we're ready for that yet.
I think not for a while.
Brad, you've got another game here that is a license.
Last game that I played from this Direct, Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
Hello Kitty.
Hell yeah.
Which I wasn't immediately sold on booking this appointment until I realized, A, it's got some pretty overt Animal Crossing sort of influence. B, it's huge on iOS. Like, I did not realize it's on Apple Arcade.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize it was like the biggest game on iOS last year, I believe.
Really?
Or close to it. Like, it's huge.
Has Hello Kitty ever not been popular? Or just really popular for like the last 60 years?
I mean, in Japan, at least, I think it's been pretty steady. I mean, I think its popularity in the West has sort of,
ebbed and flowed.
Yeah.
It just always seemed like one of those things that's just like steadily there, always making money to me.
Sanrio is always getting that money.
Yes. Like
I found a Hello Kitty Christmas ornament I had from when I was a kid with the, Vinny 1982 on it. I was like, man, Hello Kitty's always been there for me.
Yep. Just like reams of Hello Kitty stationery sold every day, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they are bringing it to Switch, and I believe also, it's these announcements are very Nintendo themed, but I believe it's actually coming to everything. Let me just triple check.
I don't know if they've got dates for the everything. There might be separate dates. I think 2025 was the Switch and PC.
Yes, that's right. They said in this thing it's a timed exclusive on Switch.
Yeah.
I believe it's also PS5, Xbox. Anyway. It feels very Animal Crossing. The Switch version they had was very, very early, which they flat out were like, hey, we're pretty early importing this, like it was running pretty chunkily. But you're on these islands, like most of, I think, the Sanrio friends have kind of like been lost, or a bunch of them have, and you're like kind of going out and finding them and recovering them. There's like a lot of gift giving to like build relationships with people. But there's a bunch of like town building up. I don't know how much you're like building outside structures so much as maybe decorating the inside of buildings that are already there. I think it's more the latter was my impression.
Okay. Like a redecorating.
Yeah, I don't know that you're full on just building and placing buildings wherever you want as much as Animal Crossing.
Are you inviting people as you find them into your town?
That might be the case. Like I said, it was early enough that I didn't like get to go out and do as much of the out in the world stuff. But that's
okay.
That's actually the big differentiator here. Is there is a big world to go do stuff in, where Animal Crossing is just your town. And it's purely just unlocking stuff and building up your town.
Or taking a plane, a load to some other little bit.
Yeah, this game has like, I don't know if dungeons might be an extreme word to use, but there's full on like quests and like locations out in the world to go out into and like solve puzzles in to get stuff for your town. It's a lot more of like an open world exploration kind of game mashed up with some elements of Animal Crossing.
I do wonder, like, I know nothing about this on mobile, but I assume there is some kind of monetization on mobile.
No, because it's on Apple Arcade. It's just because you have to pay. You already have to pay the subscription fee. You can't buy this game. You have to pay a sub just to play it. So they don't. My understanding is they don't monetize anything individually.
Okay, so just come right over and leave your monetization behind.
This, I mean, who can say on the Switch, though? Like, you would assume they probably might
sell me an outfit or two.
I asked, and they were not ready to talk about any post-release monetization.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good for you for asking.
Yes, but I'm trying to remember what they said about the cadence. I think they said they would maybe do their best to get the additional content close to the release cadence of the iOS version. Not lagging super far behind, anyway.
Any updates would come over fairly soon.
Reasonably quickly, I think is what they said. Like, it seemed like the multiplayer is a lot more sensible than like the insanity of Animal Crossing, which is a complete disaster. God damn. Like, did some Animal Crossing multiplayer like a month ago, and it's still just completely, who would design a video game like that? Like, you can't leave the town if somebody else has a menu open at the same time? Like, what?
Listen,
something might break. Who knows?
It was one of the best games of 2020, and it had a lot of problems.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it had a lot of problems.
That game served an essential need at a very dire time. But anyway, some of the like the puzzle solving is a lot of mechanical stuff, like moving some obstacle stuff. You know, like just fairly basic stuff. But some of the kind of dungeony puzzle stuff is co-op focused. Like, you need two people to operate stuff to complete the puzzle type stuff. So
it needs to be a human.
Yes. I think that's right. I don't think they said there's a way to do it by yourself. Anyway, point being, there's a lot more like active stuff for you to do with another player instead of just meeting up and looking at each other and emoting a lot and then leaving. So it's sort of an Animal Crossing-esque game that is a lot more goal-oriented is the vibe I got from it, which sounds very appealing to me.
And again, it's kind of out now, so I guess it's known quantity in some respects.
You could go play it on iOS now and see exactly what it is.
Just unknown quantity is performance on the Switch and updates and stuff. Or
coming out next year. Maybe. I mean, I'm sure it'll be on both. But
you make your own character? You don't play as Kitty, right?
You definitely don't play as
Kitty.
Hello Kitty. Yeah, you do make your own character. I did go through some of the customization, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Hello Kitty.
Yeah.
Anything else here you guys want to pluck out and talk about?
That's the majority of it.
I guess that's most everything that caught my eye. Mio, I thought looked really cool. Mio Memories in Orbit.
Oh, that.
It was pretty early in the presentation. It's a Metroidvania, like a 2D Metroidvania. I just thought the art looked
Yeah.
I thought the art looked very intriguing in that.
Yeah, that was the one, very Ori-like.
Kinda, yeah, but it's got like a, what do you call that? Like you draw, right? Like you might know the word for this sort of thing. It's got this like kind of crosshatch, like shaded look on stuff.
Yeah, I call it crosshatch.
Is that what you call that? That kind of shading? Yeah. Like it has a very like
pencil lines, basically.
Yes, like a very, and yeah, actually, now that you mention it, like the lines on the edges of stuff are very like sort of like drawn in, gone over repeatedly, rough looking. You know, like it's got a really unique like hand drawn look to it.
Yeah,
that looks quite cool. But I bet that's not Switch only though.
I can look that one up. Yes, does that have a date?
I don't think
it does.
Let's see. Oh yeah. The Steam page is up now. It's 2025, but so it's definitely at least also coming to PC. I had not heard of that before, and I thought it was pretty eye catching.
No, you're right. That one, I remember that one now, and thought it looked super cool. It did look very Ori to me. The only other thing I would mention here that I thought was kind of cool was that NES Championship thing, their package that they're putting together, which I don't really go in for collector's edition stuff too much, but that seemed kind of cool. Their gold cart, the deluxe set.
Yeah. I want to say the one in Japan has even more stuff in it.
How could you have even more stuff?
I can't remember what, though.
I should look up how much that is. It says it's a pre-order now. I wonder if they're sold out already.
Yeah, I was almost surprised they mentioned this on here because I would have assumed it has already sold out.
I'm going to look it up. Let's see. NES. This is probably done already. NES Deluxe. They're already the first one that comes up. All right. Let's see. Nope. Wait. $60?
Is that it?
Let me double check what's in here. You get the Nintendo World NES Edition game card. That's the game. A gold-colored NES game pack and stand to commemorate. So that cart doesn't do anything, right?
I don't believe so.
Is it a hollow cart? So you get the game, which on its own is $30. You get this gold-colored NES game pack, which is what they're saying, and the stand. You get 13 art cards, which I don't care about, and you get a set of 5 pins, which I also don't really care about. So maybe it's not worth it if it's a hollow cart, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh god, that's right. Okay, I looked it up. The frickin' Japanese special edition comes with Famicom Joy-Cons.
What?
Like it comes with literal, they look like literal Famicom controllers, but they're Joy-Cons.
How much are those? How much is that one? Oh, it's probably in yen.
Amazon price is roughly 10,000 yen. I don't know if that's marked up or not.
Are we the yen is less than $1 now, right?
Yeah, so dramatically less. Yeah. Like if kind of 1-to-1, that would be like $100, but it's way less than that because of the exchange rate right now. They don't have as many buttons as the regular Joy-Cons, and there's full on a thing here that's just like, hey, you can't play other games besides this one with these Joy-Cons because they don't have enough buttons.
Right.
But that's still pretty neat.
Yeah, I don't need more stuff to stay in a box until 20 years when we do a ramble cast. I'm like, look, I've got this thing. Do you guys remember this? It's the Gold Championship thing.
It's called playing the long game, Vinny.
It's content. I'm investing in content for later on. We're holding up to the camera now. What is this? Oh, I still have all the art cards too, and the pins. Brad, you're just shaking your head. No,
free yourself. Free yourself. You've seen that box I keep pulling down from the closet.
What if that box could have even more stuff? What if that box became another box?
Do you know how long it took to repack that thing?
Too long, probably. Too long.
It was like playing Tetris.
Yeah, another fine Nintendo. My son plays that Tetris 99 all the time now.
It's fantastic. It's excellent.
Yeah. He likes it. I think he was playing F-Zero 99 for a while too, but less of that. All right. Anything else, Brad, you want to pull out here, or anybody want to talk about?
That covers everything for me.
Pretty good direct.
Yeah, seriously, this is an all-timer, I think. Particularly in light of, like I said, just the kind of vacuum of stuff that everybody thought they had.
Yeah. Yeah, I did not have high expectations going in. There would have not been a lot of things bubbling around. I think even people in circles that I follow have stopped mentioning Metroid Prime 4 as a thing they're going to see. Yeah.
Yes, Jeff Grubb can breathe easily, finally.
Now people can just start chanting Silk Song over and over again every time there's a showcase.
Leave them alone. Let them make their game.
Let them do their work.
Yeah.
That's the Nintendo Direct, and that probably, I mean, we're getting towards the end of June here, probably ends the summer of game showcase announcements.
Yes. In fact, I just saw this morning Sony's announced they are skipping Gamescom.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
I was just going to say until Gamescom and TGS spin back up, but that's Gamescom still end of August?
Yeah.
I think so. I haven't looked this year, but yeah, usually.
They're skipping, huh?
Yeah, 21st to 25th.
Okay. Are they skipping TGS?
I'm sure they'll be there.
That's less of a commute.
Okay. I'm curious what comes out of TGS this year. There's no way Nintendo announces their thing at a TGS, or like they're not even at TGS, right?
No, not really.
Space World. They're going to do it at Space World.
Yes, God, they should bring back Space World. That's how they should do it.
Every time we talk about Nintendo and TGS, Space World always comes up, and we always say the same thing. Yes, and I agree. They should bring back Space World.
Let's go to Space World.
Look, two big reasons they should do a Space World, I'm just saying, in the near future. One, they've got new hardware to announce. Two, they've got this NES Championship Edition thing, which I'm just saying, they could do a big promotion with the set up a whole booth that mirrors the Wizard and the whole thing. Do this whole thing at Space World and show off your new hardware. Smoke machines. We can do this. It can happen.
Also, reason number 3.
Yeah,
I want them to.
There you go. So, which is maybe the best reason.
It's the only reason.
Wow, this thing started in 1989. Jeez.
Space World?
Man, the Super Famicom was announced and Super Mario World was reportedly shown, this says, for the first Space World.
And look how that worked out for them.
Or they were still called Shoshinkai back then, but yeah.
And look how it worked out. All right, that's going to do it for the news until they announce Space World at least. But we'll have more news next week, regardless of a Space World. Emails.
You know I love them.
Right, yes.
We got an email address here. It is podcast@nextlander.com. Podcast@nextlander.com. What you got in the email bag?
Nate writes in, "Hey Brad, why did you cut your hair?
What's up? Why'd you cut your hair?
I assume you were either tired of dealing with it or just didn't want to be seen in public." Yes, both. Yes to both.
This was the reveal at Summer Games Fest.
I actually cut it like 3 months ago.
Did you really?
Oh yeah.
Wait, I don't think you ever showed us.
4 months ago? No, I didn't make a big deal out of it.
You do wear hats a lot.
Okay.
It was about the time that I started wearing hats a lot again.
Oh my gosh.
As a matter of fact.
We got to see, people got to see a profile of you and notice your hair.
You know, look, I was never under any illusion that it looked good.
What'd you do with the hair?
It's kind of gone.
You didn't like, the person cutting it wasn't like, can I have this? Or
it was not enough to donate, I'll say that.
It was not. Okay.
No, because it was just the top, you know, like I always, all around the sides, I've kept short all this time.
Oh, I see.
So it actually turned out to be way, way less hair than you think.
Interesting. Do you feel different having cut, like cooler?
It was a huge relief.
It was
I was so sick of dealing with it. Oh my God, I hated it.
So you didn't feel like you lost your power.
I mean, for probably the last like 2 years of it, I was just locked in a battle of wills against the hair.
Just because you had put so much energy
into it? Yes,
it
was just it was just endless sunk cost of like, I've made it this far, I've got to keep going.
Okay.
I'm never going to do this again, so let's see how long I can stand it. Turned out about 4 years.
If you want to see Brad's hair, his new look, you could check it out on the couch on the summer Giant Bomb Summer Game Fest. Was it Giant Bomb at Night?
Yes, which I think is up on their site now.
I think
YouTube
so.
And stuff. I dearly wish I had cut it for Drew's wedding. I'll say that.
Oh, I think you pulled it together.
I was kicking myself for going to that thing, not having cut my hair.
Dang hippie! Look at you.
Yeah.
The nice thing with you and your hair is you look great at any hair length.
Well, thank you.
You pull it off.
Kind of you.
Another email?
Here's an email from Mark in Newton, Illinois.
Okay.
Writes in about Dougie's car.
Okay.
Oh, Dougie's car, the would-be classic. Wait, Dougie's car or the one that pulls up in front of Dougie's house?
You mean with the ribbon on it?
The
muscle
all,
car.
The
Yeah, the
all
original.
black would-be Charger thing?
Yes. He said Dougie's car is either a 71 or a 72 Dodge Charger. It's been modified, but it's definitely a Charger.
Okay. Look at that. I know nothing about cars, but I had Charger sense.
How is it modified? I want to know.
I would assume, the paint job doesn't look like it was regulation, and it looked like maybe that spoiler had been added somewhere along the way.
Or the back, something on the back looked funny.
There was also, definitely some custom muffler action happening there.
Yes.
Now, have we solved the mystery of whether it's Dougie Love or Dougie Las Vegas?
No, it's Doogie Las Vegas.
Oh, okay, there you go.
It was just LV, right?
Yeah, it's just LV.
Oh, I got to say Las Vegas on that one.
I think it is, but I like Dougie Loved, for the record.
What is it, 8 characters total?
DOUGIE-LV. Yeah, that's 8.
But, you can only have 8 on a license plate, right?
Depends on the state.
It could be love. I guess it could be love. Then.
Could it be love
that I'm feeling?
It's Las Vegas.
It's almost assuredly Las Vegas.
Yeah. You want to hear about some math real quick?
I love math.
Jeff from Boise, Idaho writes in.
It's like in my top 5 subjects.
About me talking about Battle Aces last week and the fact that you can build a deck of 8 units.
Okay.
And wondering how many total possible combinations that is.
Oh boy.
I'll try to condense this a little bit here. After hearing about Brad talk about combinations, factorials, and deck building regarding the upcoming Battle Aces, I thought it would be fun to do the math. He said there would be something like 50 choices per slot, with 8 slots total, which would push the possibilities into the trillions.
Okay.
However, on finding the current website and seeing the various rules for picking units, the number will be a bit smaller. They say in their FAQ they plan to have 45 or 50 units ready for the open beta, but only show a total of 34 at the moment. Still, might as well break down the options. You have to pick 2 core units out of a total of 12, 1 Foundry unit, 1 Starforge unit, 1 Advanced Foundry, and then 1 Advanced Starforge unit.
Okay.
And then round out the team with any 2 Foundry or Starforge units left over from that.
Do not tell me we have done all the math here.
Which is a total of 18 after the first 4 choices.
Okay.
Assuming you can't choose duplicates, the FAQ does not say. The math looks like this. 12 core times 11 remaining core times 9 Foundry times 7 Starforge times 2 Advanced Foundry times 4 Advanced Starforge times 18 remaining times 17 remaining equals 20,357,568 possible decks.
Seems like there's a decent amount of variety there.
I have not checked this math.
I will not check this math.
I am not capable of checking this math.
If someone came up to me and said this math to me, I would worship them as a god because I would not know what the hell they were talking about and just assume they were some kind of deity.
I would probably ask a question that I didn't understand in the middle of that equation that would show my deep misunderstanding of all math concepts. Be like, do you just not understand basic arithmetic? You're right.
I don't. I don't. 100%. Sorry, Grandma. I know you were an arithmetic teacher, but it didn't take.
It did. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I also can't say arithmetic. Apparently.
Show me this in Roman numerals, please. Thank you. I need to see it. That's some good math. That's fun.
Yeah,
they should send that over to somebody. Get at the developers and tweet them. We've done the math.
Frankly, I was lucky enough to have lunch with some of the Uncapped Games folks, including David Kim, and that's where that question came up.
Oh, okay.
And nobody was able to answer it on the spot, but I believe he was one of their programmers, is who said, hey, that would be a factorial problem.
Okay. You're going to forward this along?
That's what got me wondering. Maybe.
You should. Let him know.
Watching that Artosis series, though, yesterday that he casted, made me realize, though, however many actual possible combinations there are, everybody's going to gravitate toward, the known good builds.
The metas.
Yeah, it's absolutely going to be which units synergize well.
Yeah, but that's what breaking the meta is all about.
That's
right?
true. That's true.
It's like you come up with that 2 millionth build that nobody ever uses, and you're like, I have no defense against this.
Yep.
It's all scouts or whatever. Yep. I don't know.
Man, it felt good to watch some professionally casted RTS again.
Where are those? Because I'm assuming, in my cynical brain, every everything has been absorbed and you got to go to like ESPN's esports channel to watch that kind of stuff?
Well, like I was saying earlier, I think it just kind of doesn't exist here anymore. Like they kind of stopped with the StarCraft 2. Like Brood War is still huge in Korea, and I assume you can still get English casts of that, but
okay.
I don't know. I don't know where it is.
Yeah. It's really not my scene at all. I don't follow esports at all, so I don't even know what leagues are broadcasting where.
Yeah, I mean, the real answer is it's mostly MOBAs these days.
Sure.
MOBAs and shooters. MOBAs and first-person shooters are the big esports games these days.
MOBAs and shooters.
Yep.
And Tigers,
another email?
Let's see. What do we call it there for this week?
Okay. That is podcast@nextlander.com. You could send in your emails. Okay, if you want to check the math, that's how the science works. You want to do the math and you say, actually, we won't know the difference. We'll say whatever's.
Yes.
We'll read whatever's sent to us.
Just uncritically read whatever you send in.
That's our job. Podcast@nextlander.com. Thanks again to everybody who is listening, sending in emails, supporting us, getting out there. Followed us throughout the showcases that we watched live together, and cried. We laughed, we cried, we winced, we sniped. We did a bunch. We've got a bunch going on this week, not the least of which is, according to my source, and my source being Alex Navarro, we have 4 episodes remaining to record.
That means 2 more podcasts.
Of our Twin Peaks season 3 watch here. Going up next week will be the last 6 and 5, which are episodes 13, 14?
13, 14.
13, 14. It's getting interesting because we're running out of runway to resolve things. Mm-hmm. So you can hear us kind of talk about hey, is this what are we going to see? Is this going to get tied up by the end? Is this going to happen? You could also hear my power go out, which is towards the very, 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 very end. That's very fun. I'm really enjoying it. Plus, added bonus, not related to Twin Peaks, apparently, coming up on the 100th episode.
Yeah, we are.
That'll be after we're done.
I think the last official Twin Peaks episode will be 99.
99. Movies with the 100 in them? There weren't as many. We looked them up, you and I. There weren't like as many as you'd think. Yeah, 300. That's a number.
200. Then 200. You got something.
There's 1,000. They're all over the place. So stay tuned. We're going to watch 100 movies for the 100th episode and rank them all in that one episode. It's that's my idea on the table. If there are any other ideas, float them out there. That might be something to do there. But thanks everybody for tuning in for the Watchcast as we near the end of Twin Peaks. I bet, Alex, if I had to guess, probably do a couple of movies in between here before we land back.
Yeah, I think we'll probably do some movies for a little bit. I was also wondering if maybe we should do another Twin Peaks bonus episode that's like a wrap up of everything.
Oh, like watch all the behind the scennes materials.
Yeah, and like talk about the stuff that I read in the books, and just kind of like going down the characters and just sort of what is the canon of all this?
Yeah. And once we're done, like our final thoughts on the whole thing.
Yeah, I think that because otherwise there's still going to be a lot to talk about with that finale.
Yeah,
that's going to be like a 5-hour podcast if we do those episodes and the summation of everything.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
So we'll think we'll announce something as we get closer, but either way, there will be a lot to talk about when we get done.
Yeah, and you can always pop into the Discord on the suggestions tab there, or the forum, the Discord channel, let's call it, and always hit us up if you have any great ideas for what you'd like to see next, or where you'd like things to go. What else do we have going on? We'll have a Never Been a Better podcast. I believe we're recording tonight with Abby and Bacalar are going to join us. That's tonight. Got the Ramblecast over on the Patreon. We'll have Q&A happening this week over on the Patreon on Thursday. I think that is tomorrow. My watch is correct. We'll be recording that. Of course, then later on in the month, we'll have our Patron's Choice. That is to say, all of these things happening over at patreon.com/Nextlander. Can't do it without you. Got some special things going on over at the Patreon for the folks who are over there. You can find a tier that fits your lifestyle, your budget, your means. We do appreciate any support over there. There is one tier that gets their names read on this here show, the Mysterious Benefactors tier. Alex Navarro, would you mind reading those names for us today?
Yes, sir. Our mysterious benefactors for this week are Sean Miller, RRE, Infelicitous Rips, Kelly F., Brian Lucier, Skywarp, John Hubbard, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, Jerry Lee, Deirdre is Dawn Trail Ready, Gary Pejsky, Robert Fisher, Bunny Fiend, Jad Rita, Statics, Fantasticasm89, Razgris 2, Brian Murphy, Randy Duax, Andrew Tiepkin, Alex Wu, It Me JP, Edward Chick, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, and Tyler Treese.
Again, thanks to our mysterious benefactors, and thanks again to everyone who has supported us over on patreon.com/Nextlander. Again, couldn't do it without you. Wouldn't do it without you.
Wouldn't even try.
Wouldn't even try. We've got, Alex, you and I have been barreling towards a conclusion in Cyberpunk 2077.
I'd say we're damn close.
Yeah, I think we're on like the last official mission. We're trying to wrap up a bunch of side stuff, so maybe 2 episodes, an episode or 2, maybe some side stuff in between there before we wrap up. But that's going to be closing out pretty soon.
Yep.
Summer. It's a summer of beginnings and a summer of closures happening all around here. And then on Friday, I believe, Brad, you're going to be picking up your Dragon Quest save. We kind of talked about it a little bit here. Dragon Quest saves to see if you can finish them out.
Yeah, I think that's probably the one to start with. I've got a bunch of saves that I've been dumping as I slowly make my way through these cartridges.
What is that? Loading, what is it? What's the
load our last legally extracted ROM save.
There you go.
Our last
just rolls right off the tongue.
Legally extracted ROM Lawlers. Got it.
Yes.
Lawlers.
Let's say I've got Dragon Warrior, Zelda 2.
Okay.
Star Tropics.
Mm-hmm.
Final Fantasy 1, but that's like kind of a relatively early game. I couldn't just go finish that one. I think Dragon Warrior is probably the one to try, just like make a run at the end boss.
And do you know if you are saved right before the last boss?
Pretty close.
Okay.
I actually found a little tool somebody wrote to edit Dragon Warrior saves, so I could customize it, but loading into that tool, it seems like I've got almost everything there is to get.
Okay. 9999999.
Yes. Got some other stuff. Got my Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask saves.
Ooh, okay.
Majora's Mask very early in the game. I had like 5 heart containers.
Okay, that's pretty early.
Tells you how much Majora I played.
Yeah, not the majority of it.
Ocarina's right at the end, though.
Okay, I'd watch that.
I finally lost a save.
Which one?
I lost my Castlevania Circle of the Moon save as I was trying to dump it.
Wait, as you were trying to dump it?
Very sad.
How do you know it was as you were trying to dump? You saw it and it disappeared?
I put it in a Game Boy first, Game Boy Advance, and it was there, and I was able to load it. It was right at the end of the game, and then I put it in the dumper and dumped it.
Yeah.
Nothing in the save, and then when I put it back in the Game Boy, it was also gone there.
So what do you think happened?
I do not know. Like, maybe that thing was just right on the edge. Like, it was just barely hanging on.
Had one last read in it?
And it just kind of, at some point in that process, I don't know. Just, I mean, not the end of the world, but,
No. You should try it again at some point. Maybe the magic is
like I've got the file I dumped right after I saw the save working on the Game Boy, so maybe it's still in there, but it's showing up as empty so far.
Nah, it's a bummer. Sorry.
Yeah, that's
it's a lot of game.
Can't win them all. I've already gotten way luckier than I feel like I should have.
Well, you can check out where Brad saves lead us on Friday. Again, we'll be back with that, so check that out. Thank you very much, Alex Navarro.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad Shoemaker. And we'll see y'all soon. Probably next week. Bye.